think we all know we need financing for infrastructure, but I got them to put in fair and equitable long-term statewide water infrastructure funding. Fair and equitable meaning let's not have Layton pay for other communities' water. So, and actually, Weaver Basin Water helped me out with that, so they appreciated the concern. They might be in the same boat, I don't know, with some of their projects.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Another one, Ray Ward was their representative, and he talked about how the state would like some land use authority over cities to achieve some of the state's priorities. So he gave an example of a southern Davis County city about a garage that was too close to a rear lot, and went through all the legislative, the administrative processes. The cities told them, well, we don't have any, we can't say yes because of a setback. And that's the example he used. I felt maybe he was talking more about ADUs or more housing units. So, yeah, just, I'm sure the league is talking about it also, but yeah, the state wants some of our authority.
Just legislature by anecdote. Love that.
We're just gotta get with other Any other reports?
Keep it as down as you can.
Anything from the league, you guys? I know, I guess I failed to mention that they, with the National League of Cities and Towns, it was in, that they had here in Salt Lake, there was a special meeting, and for the cities of first and second class that I attended, and I was pretty clear on delivering our message regarding water, and the fact that larger cities don't want to be paying for smaller cities, and luckily I got a couple other mayors to chime in with me, so it, I think, resonated pretty loud and clear on that, and then also just the land use authority. I caught that one up too, so I think that's on their radar, which I'm sure you guys are probably hearing about that and kind of seeing what the league's doing, but I did, again, try to emphasize our position on both those.
It was shared that you articulated very clearly and positively about our thoughts and our concerns. So there was a thank you was given.
Well,
From the city.
it just goes that realistically, that isn't just one of us, it's all of us
Yeah.
singing this, our song to so many people so that they can all understand it. Okay.
Well, I would report on CTC, but I have some help tonight, so I don't have anything to share just yet.
Anybody else have anything? Nada? Okay. Well, then, let's go ahead and go on to our third item, which is CTC, and knowing that, Katina, you're our liaison there, rather than me do the introductions, I'll turn it over to you.
Cool. Well, I'd like to welcome Tiffany Lanning to the table. Tiffany's our coordinator for Layton Communities That Care, and she's been doing a great job. She's going to provide a presentation, just an overview of what we've done this year. I know I talk about it every meeting, so, but I wanted to have Tiffany come and share, and then she can also introduce our other folks who are here. But she'll share what we've been doing over the year with Communities That Care, and any questions you all have afterwards. Happy to talk through those.
Yeah. I'll just do the introduction now. This is Jen Meyer. She's our program manager. So she just helps with all the community classes. She's the one that kind of oversees that piece for me, and she's great. We love it. She's but Tina will tell you I never stand in meetings anymore. So super excited to be here, and I actually really enjoyed pulling photos and really being able to look back at everything we've done. I will say I'm still fairly new to this role, so I came in March. But it was really fun to see, like, in that short of time, and then also working with the previous coordinator, Megan, to figure out what was done between January and then. But it's been like a year. So Bettina talks a lot about CTC, and we love her for it. But really, I just want to point out, like, the CTC is really comprised of parents, educators, we have first responders, healthcare, public health people. We've got grandparents, neighbors, social workers, city council, religious leaders. One of my favorite parts about the CTC is all of the different people that get to come to the table and the people that we get to work with. It's a really fun group of people. So tonight, I really just want to go over some of our highlights. So 2025 highlights that we're going to be looking at is things that we've learned, ways that we've served, some of the education opportunities that we've done through our classes, some of the partnerships we've been able to establish, and then what we're looking forward to in 2026. So the CTC is really good about investing their time and learning together. So we're constantly exploring best practices, trying to stay up on emerging policies and research, and really just trying to find better ways to help support youth in our community. So one event that they get to go to every year is the Bryce Canyon Prevention Summit. This is in the beautiful Bryce Canyon. I was so happy to be able to go this year. And some of the key takeaways that we got to learn, we talked with Braxton Nielsen, who is a former PRCA rodeo. He did bareback riding, and he shared his story of getting in an accident one night during the rodeo, broke his back, became paralyzed, and was given 5% chance that he'd ever walk again. And he shared his story of overcoming that hardship and how he is now, even though he's unable to feel his legs still, he is now up and walking, and he gets to go around the state and talk to youth about how to overcome challenges. And his main focus is how can we become 1% better every day. So then after this conference, I kind of took that on with the CTC. How does the CTC become 1% better every day so that we can help the community become 1% better every day? Some of the other things we got to learn about were positive adult experiences. Some of you may have heard of like positive childhood experiences, and how we kind of offset some of the ACEs, but positive adult experiences are just as important, and it was a good reminder that connection matters for grown-ups too. And then we talked about taking invisible vulnerabilities and making them obvious to everyone through compassion, visibility, and action. We did a lot of listening to our community. We find community voices so important, and so we have been able to do key informant interviews with staff from Layton and Northridge High School, Mountain View Elementary, Lincoln Elementary, and we even talked with the family advocate from South Weaver Elementary, which was really, really exciting. I know.
Progress.
Yes, we're making some movement. I'm really excited. We also got feedback from Head Start, Open Doors, the health department, and we got stuff from the Davis Behavioral School-Based Therapist to see we really want to understand what are we seeing as far as substance use with kiddos in our community. We're also currently in the middle of collecting data from some of the SROs, and the school admin has been sent out. And all of this data is going to inform the strategies that we're hoping to implement in 2026. We also got to do a tour of the Teen Living Center. This was back in the summer, and so we got to meet with their director, and we really just learned what it's like for youth that live there. Who are they seeing come through the doors? What are some of the experiences they're coming with? And what do they want the community to know? How can we show up as a community and help these kids? And that was a really cool. Bettina, were you at that one? Mm-hmm. Do you want to speak to something you learned?
Well, I'd actually been there already.
Yes.
So I didn't learn a lot at this setting.
A couple of times.
But one thing that I think is important is the director made sure that we understood that the youth that are living there all of them, they function as a family.
Mhm.
And so they make meals together, they have time where they can do things together, there's games, it's to make sure that they feel like they have a home and it's a place for them to be. And so they invite community members and organizations to help out with things like that. There are volunteer groups who want to help with dinner, teaching them how to make a particular item or whatnot, because they do all of that there. They cook, they have schedules, like, you know, so I think it's important for people to know that it's their home. You know, it's not just like this facility, but it's their home.
You could elaborate a little bit more on where they're going with that.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys are aware that, you know, the model on the Teen Living Center was to also help them stand up and be self-sustaining. So they are in the process of setting up their own secondhand shop. That will, right now they're looking at over in the Rite Aid shopping area, the old Rite Aid building. So they need to find fixtures and stuff like that so they can, you know, start receiving goods and be able to kind of stand that up, and then the kids will help run that, and the funding from that will help pay for the resource center. So I mean, that's where it comes full circle on how valuable that resource center is not only a place for the kids to live, feel like it's home, to teach them good working habits, and then also so that the living center becomes self-sustaining as well.
Yeah.
Who pays the lease?
Right now, it's
The building.
funded, well, it was privately funded, and then the Davis Education Foundation. It's all through the Davis Education Foundation. Or are you talking the lease on the Switch Point? Switch Point's heavily involved in all that.
That's not cheap.
No, that's why, once they get that going, we need to, you know, I think as a governing body, we need to help get that word out so we can help support those kids.
Yeah.
But they're not there yet, but they're soon.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I didn't need to.
No, you're
But
totally
that's
good.
part of what the Communities That Care is all about.
Yeah, no, that's really exciting, and Adrian was really good to kind of walk us through like what their schedule looks like, how the kids that are there get referred by the schools, so they have a partnership with the school, and I think at the time, she said they had, what, 3 graduate that spring, 3 or 4, had graduated in the spring, and we're going on to college and
All
trade
3 of them got
schools and-
scholarships.
Mhm, yeah, so we're doing some really good work. We were able to host Prevention Week. So this was a 3-day event. Monday night, we did family dinner night. So we had a magician come out. This was countywide. So all 4 of the CTCs pitched in, but we really wanted to create a space that families could come together and have, like, just enjoy time together. Really honing in on the idea that family dinner is extremely important in preventing substance use. Then some of our workshops that we got to do, we were teaching people about brain development, a little bit about screen time. What does screen time look like? How is it affecting school grades? How is it affecting their sleep patterns? We talked some about social harms, and then we did some developing relationships and resilience, and that was in partnership also with USU Extension. So this was just some of our prevention week. This was family dinner night. I think when we counted, we had roughly 300. Yeah, 320 something people come through from all across the county. So it was really fun. So this was at Pioneer Park in Kaysville. We wanted to pick something centrally located for everybody. And then we were able to do raffles that we handed out family bonding baskets where it just had a bunch of board games that families could win and take home. We had a magician who also does some prevention stuff, so he came and did a magic show with all the kiddos. Just really tried to make it a fun night. And then the following 2 days were the half-day workshops.
Do you remember his name? I was gonna look it up.
Brett,
He's
I will find it.
He's from Layton originally.
Yeah.
He lives in Idaho now. What was it last?
Oh, we live in Idaho now.
He said, I don't know. I will find out.
Brad Barton.
Brad.
Does that sound right? Oh, it could be Brad. You're
Brad
right.
Barton.
Yeah, he was
Probably.
awesome.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
My kids thought he was, you know,
he was the one.
really magic.
Yeah.
Well, he was.
He is.
He
He
sure
is.
Turning
was.
water into like marbles, like heart, and kids were blown away. It was so cute.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
very
He would
magical.
hand them the marble. They got to keep the frozen, the magical water.
Something else that we got to do, we were able to join the Layton City 9/11 Day of Service. And so the coalition decided that they wanted to do the Vietnam Wall. And rumblings have recently been confirmed. This is something they want to do annually. They really enjoyed that chance. So this will be something that we will continue every year, coming back and being able to engage in a service project. So these are our classes. So these are the classes that Jen helps us run. So we were able to do the two classes that we offer most through the CTC is the Circle of Security Parenting class and the Strengthening Families class. And both of them are for families. The Strengthening Families has a team component as well. But it's really about teaching family connection, family attachment, boundaries, some good parenting classes. We were able to teach 5 classes and 10 workshops, and we served a total of 285 individuals in those. So our Strengthening Families class, some of the outcomes that we have seen, adult participants who completed the course saw a 42% increase in conflict resolution skills and a 15% increase in family bonding. And one of our participants said to have family meetings and to cool down before confronting my youth with misbehavior is something that they learned. And then our youth participants also responded, and they said they saw a 5% increase in conflict resolution skills and 10% increase in individual skills. And these teens are 10 to 14. And then one of the top things that was said was they learned how to handle peer pressure. And the program taught them the steps that they can use when someone's pressuring them to do something that they know they shouldn't. We also held this class in Spanish, and so our Latino group, the adults saw a 74% increase in conflict resolution skills and 40% increase in family bonding. They learned to be able to better communicate and have a little more patience to improve their relationships at home. And then the youth reported seeing a 13% increase in conflict resolution skills and 18% increase in individual skills. And they learned how the importance of respect in the family, knowing how to say no when someone's trying to pressure them into something they don't want to do. And this cute kiddo said that he learned to appreciate what his mom does for him, which is a big deal. So at our Circle of Security Parenting class, this is focused more on kiddos 9 and under. So our English class, we saw a 41% decrease in feelings of high stress about parenting. And we heard that they like the opportunity to think further about the way they parent. It was helpful to take the class with a spouse so that they could have shared language on their parenting techniques. And then our Spanish class had a 38% decrease in feelings of high stress about parenting. And they were able to identify parenting factors that they hadn't noticed in themselves before and then be able to implement new strategies within their home. They also liked that the class was made a safe space where they felt like they could talk with other parents without being judged and that they were listened to. So then these workshops, our 90-minute workshops, are Everyday Strong is the top one. So that really takes Maslow's hierarchy of needs and applies it to emotional wellness. And then nurturing healthy relationships, we also sometimes call the social development strategy, and that's all about how when we teach kids a skill, give them an opportunity to use that skill, and then reward them for that skill, they're more likely to have healthier outcomes. So this is one that we teach to we teach it to parents, but we were able to take it to the schools for the community schools program, so we taught a lot of teachers. So we were able to do 2 Everyday Strong workshops and 8 of our SCS workshops. So in some of the partnerships that we got to do, Layton Hills Mall has been a great partner to us this year. For the classes, the Strengthening Families and Circle of Security Parenting class, those are 7 and 8 week classes, so it's a pretty significant time commitment for these families. And so to show that we appreciate that they came and that they spent the time, we give out a graduation gift. And so we were able to partner with Layton Hills Mall to create bonding baskets. So we went in and their marketing director worked with some of the stores in the mall and was able to get us free games, like free board games, and then we got 80 admit one passes to the Layton Aquarium so that families can take their kiddos to have an experience at the aquarium. We partnered with my hometown Layton and the Community Resource Center. We were able to go teach some of our workshops there, and that's a partnership that we're looking forward to continuing and trying to get some of our longer classes into. Obviously working with Layton City has been great. We got to partner with the school district and we were able to help support the community schools program. And then we also worked with Utah PTA to really get some help with Red Ribbon Week and how can we support PTA efforts and use that partnership to get into the schools. So the community schools, we were able to reach, this is countywide, we reached 755 students from 14 Title I elementary schools. And I believe 2 or 3 of them were in Layton City. They focus on literacy, STEM, character and life skills. They got to go on field trips and site-selected learning activities. And then there was so much good feedback. That was really hard to pick on, so I encourage you to look at the report. But one of the biggest, and something I feel like this quote kind of encapsulates all of what we heard. The impact summer camp has had on my families knowing that my children are cared for when I can't be there. It helped our family be able to work and be home with them in the afternoon and nights. Our family would not be able to function and work a normal job without a safe space that summer camp provides. It ensured my child got meals and helped keep a schedule for my kids. So that was a really awesome program that we got to do. My hometown Layton, we were able to attend their opening night of the Community Resource Center, and they had a little over 300 people rotate through that night. And then we were able to teach workshops in English and Spanish during the first semester open. And we're currently in the works of figuring out how we can take some of our other classes to them as well. Some more pictures from our day of service. I keep hearing this get brought up in several spaces, so yeah, super excited about that. So this is just our bonding basket. So Go Games and Layton Aquarium were able to donate games, coupons, and free admission passes to families. So it really helps families be able to practice what they learn in class. And then looking to the future, our 2025 SHARP results should be here soon. I hear rumblings in the next couple weeks. So we're going to take our SHARP results, we'll update our logic model and our action plan. We're looking at launching a countywide parent survey to figure out what are parents interested in, what are they ready to learn about. We have a brain science campaign that we'll be launching next year. And then we're going to continue to build and strengthen partnerships, and then continuing to find ways to help make our community 1% better every day. And then that is my contact. Bettina also knows how to get a hold of me. We also have a quarterly newsletter, which I wish I'd brought one with me. It really just we do a CTC member spotlight, and then that's a really good place to find out what we're up to, what we've been doing. We do quarterly highlights. So a good way to keep a touch point on all things CTC.
Okay. That was very good. You guys have any questions on this? I mean, it's a good report. It's good to see how much you've done. And I'm glad you're there, Tiffany.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
I know your past history and what you did for the county, so this is great to have your addition here focused with Layton City. Yeah, I do appreciate that.
I was just telling Clint that I remember Dawn was sitting in spot at Tyson sitting in, and she was really adamant, like 2020, I think it was.
Yep.
We've got to do some communities of care, we've got to do communities of care, and we were just like,
Go for it.
Yeah, if you want to, we'll support you if that's what you want to do. And so I was just counting all the numbers of people who have been supported, and I just feel like sometimes it's easy to sit back and let other people do stuff. You think, oh, the community will take care of it, or private industry will take care of it. Sometimes it's just like she just decided there's something we can do here to make life in the city better. And all those people that were benefited from kind of her pushing that. It was just cool to see. That was 5 years ago. So thank you for helping people out. It's really good service.
It is. And thank you, Bettina,
Yeah.
for being a constant liaison.
We
And
love
being a
Bettina
great
and Mayor
representative.
Metro, it's been great.
Yes, so grateful.
I was part of that initial push. I
We
roped
may or
Dawn
may
into
not
it,
have thrown
knowing
a
that I
party
could
when
do
you
it.
got
Really.
reelected. There may have
May
been
or
a
may
small
not.
party at the office.
Yeah.
There was some
I
loud cheering and stuff.
I appreciate that. And luckily, we had the support of the city too that could see the vision here.
Yeah. Thanks to you guys.
All right, well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Jennifer. Yeah, Jen.
Okay, next up, looks like
Meyer, M-E-Y-E-R.
Chief Vaughn, Assistant Temporary Chief.
So I'm on Davis.
I don't know, whatever. No, we appreciate you taking the helm right now and really leading the task and making sure that we're well prepared for it. So I'll turn the time over to you, and I guess Gavin as well, right?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for letting us be here tonight.
Going up to my hometown.
All right, very good. Sorry to inundate you with fire personnel tonight, but I wanted to bring a few extra people here tonight to we've got new roles that we're filling as we're working through this. This presentation was put together by Gavin, Deputy Fire Marshal Gavin Moffett, and our Captain Brent McFarland, who's our emergency manager. You guys all know Doug, and I've also brought Battalion Chief Nance. In 2 weeks when we come back, I will be out of town, and he will be the one helping ramrod the effort to get this through. Let's put that a different way. Let me back that up.
Hey, you heard me start out, so don't worry about it.
So what we're here to do to talk to you about is give you some information on some amendments to the code, the city code that we need to do, that we need to suggest to you, give you the information on it, let you decide how we're going to do this and where we're going. Gavin's got this information. A lot of this came from a state legislator law. The state legislature passed House Bill 48, which requires us to change a few things with the WUI and CWPP and CWS, which are all the acronyms that are on your papers. We're going to teach you a little bit about those tonight. And I promise we won't use those anymore. We'll actually use what they
That's a
actually
good,
mean.
now see, we'll remember WUI or
Yeah.
wildland.
Yeah, wildland urban interface. So
Yeah.
I'm going to just turn the time over to Gavin, let him take you through the presentation real quick, what our recommendations are going to be, and why we need to do what we need to do, and then we'll be here for any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so essentially the ordinance that we're recommending will do two things. The first one is it will adopt the 2006 Utah Wildland Urban Interface Code. We currently have adopted the 2006 International Wildland Urban Interface Code, but they're different codes. And this year, House Bill 48, they came out and said, okay, if you're going to participate in any of these state programs, you must adopt the Utah Wildland Urban Interface Code. So that's part one of this ordinance. The second part is it will also affect where fireworks are restricted, and that's to avoid a conflict within the code. In the WUI code, it actually says that you shall not use or possess fireworks in any wildland urban interface area. So this is our chance to amend that map, and so we don't have any conflicting ordinances, essentially what we're trying to do here. The reason why this all matters is the city participates in what's called the Cooperative Wildfire System. The Cooperative Wildfire System is, think of it as an insurance policy. The state says that if you as a city do everything you can to mitigate risk, so you're going to do that through prevention methods, so classes, open houses, preparedness, firefighter training, and then mitigation, where people actually go out there and remove fuel and harden their homes from wildfire. If you need to delegate a fire that's out of control, from initial attack, then they will cover the cost of it. So in order to participate in this, the city has to do a few things. We obviously have a primary responsibility for initial attack. Initial attack is we're the first ones that will be dispatched to a fire. We will do everything we can to stop that fire and keep it as small as possible. If not, we'll delegate it to the state. We have to implement a community wildfire preparedness plan. We've had one for about 15 years. Essentially, it's just our game plan on how we are going to do all those things. That's how it's a plan for how we're gonna mitigate where we're going to do that, what types of projects we're gonna do in the community, how we're going to train. We just went through the update for our newest one that will carry us 5 more years this month, so we're just wrapping that up. The state provides us with an annual participation commitment statement, so that's where they take our total risk and they say, okay, you need to match X amount of dollars. So last year was around $7,600. We accounted for and reported over 28,000. What I think is important about these numbers is that 28,000 wasn't anything that the city, we didn't have to put a ton of extra finances into it. It was stuff that we were already doing. We were already training. We were already doing classes. We were doing a lot of this stuff already. This year we had to pay for about a dumpster that cost us about $500 to help a community get rid of a bunch of wildland fire risk waste. So they were doing stuff to harden their homes.
I think it's important to note also, part of that aggregate total is that the community members that serve, actually the hours that they donate labor goes into that also.
Yeah, just like they spoke earlier about our 9/11 project. I know that's where we get a lot of help, a lot of folks. I just want to say thank you to all of our residents that step up and help us on that, because that helps with this whole program.
The city has a responsibility to actually try to get reimbursed from any sort of fire. So on a fire investigation unit, it's 4 fire investigators and then 2 police detectives. If somebody negligently causes a fire or intentionally causes a fire, we'll try to find out who it was, we will go after them, and then the city will try to recoup the cost of the fires from them. We have to adopt and enforce a WUI code, which is what we're trying to do tonight. So we've already had the International Wildland Urban Interface Code in, but we need to change it to the Utah Wildland Urban Interface Code to be compliant with new program rules that were passed in House Bill 48 this year.
And that's not a typo, it is the actual 2006. They're
Yes.
really on top of things.
Yeah.
It's a lateral move.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's more local.
And then,
They got some of the numbers.
Fire's really old.
Yeah.
It's been around a while.
we also have to adopt a wildland urban interface map. So that map is essentially where we want this wildland urban interface code to apply to. So I'll show you, go ahead and show you what we currently have. So this is our current wildland urban interface area. It's pretty large, and with us having to make some of these changes anyways, we felt now's the time for us to, let's make this make sense. There's been a lot of development in a lot of these areas. Things have changed, so we wanted to make sure that this code applied to the people that it needed to apply to. So we sat down with the county fire warden. We used state wildfire risk data. We had emergency management input onto it, firefighting operations chiefs involved in this, and then the fire marshals and the fire prevention side look at this map, and this is what we are proposing the map now look like. So we're shrinking some of it down, so anywhere in that like brown tint that's where the new wildland urban interface code will apply to. And we did this based off of all that data and then just like experience out there doing severity assessments, fire history. So this is what we believe to be what makes the most sense currently.
It takes the amount of households from the current WUI area from 5,242 down to 3,409. So it's affecting less people. And you know, when you talk about fireworks, that's one thing, but when you talk about somebody who wants to do improvements to their house, that means a lot to them, that they don't have to follow the WUI code if they don't actually live somewhere next to a WUI area. So we're shrinking that down a little bit.
Yeah, the WUI code essentially, it's like a mix between a land use code and then a building code. So there has some stuff that you just can't do in these areas, like fireworks. And there's also some things that they say, okay, this is what you have to do to your home if you're in these areas. And so in order for us to participate in this state program that will allow us to defer costs on, we have to enforce this code. So now, going forward, if you have, in addition to your home, if you build a home here, you'll have to comply with this WUI code. It's not as bad as you think. The code's available. We can get it to any of you that would like to see it.
What are some of the things that have to do then?
So depending on, so the process is if you decide that you're going to, let's say, build a new home in the city, and you fall in this area, we have to go out there and do a severity assessment. So there's a scoring sheet at the very end of the WUI code that we literally just go down, and it talks about, it says, okay, what type of roof are you putting on? You know, how much defensible space, how much clear area around your home do you actually have? What type of building materials are you going to use? And depending on where you score, if you score really high, it could be as much as, you know, you need to put a fire-resistant wall on your home. If you score really low, it could be just as simple as, okay, you know, you have to put some mesh coverings over the vents of your attic to prevent embers from getting in. And it's various stuff like that.
All right.
Now, we can get you guys a code if you'd like to see it, for sure.
Now, I know we'll probably get past it, so
Yeah.
it's good to know.
The island in the middle, I see conflicts potentially happening with, oh, my neighbors can set off fireworks, but I can't.
So the island in the middle is basically Oak Ridge, or Oak Forest subdivision, East Layton Elementary, or not East Layton Elementary, just Sarah Jane Adams Elementary. We actually went down the lot lines of some of these roads. So if you live on Sunset Drive, instead of going down the middle of Sunset Drive and somebody on the one side can do it, but somebody on the other side, you know, so instead of just being on the north side of Sunset Drive where they're actually touching the you know, where
The gully.
the stuff goes down the hill, the people on the other side can still shoot the fireworks out in the middle of the street, but that could still cause us a problem. So we determined, we're making the recommendation that we just take the homes on Sunset Drive, and we went down their back lot lines. And so people that live interior, a little bit further away, there's still not gonna be any aerials here.
Okay,
But
that was my next question.
they can't, well, and we'll pull up that map in just a second. There's still not gonna be any aerials here at all, but they can shoot the ground ones. They can do fountains. If you live on Sunset Drive, that's for an example, you can't do the fountains. It's a complete stop.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll show you that.
There's the current firework map.
So red's totally restricted. This orange color is where the aerials are restricted. And then so we don't have that conflict, anything in red, which is this wildland urban interface area, will be totally restricted for fireworks. I think it's important that if we don't make changes to it, then essentially, if we don't amend where the WUI area is, all of this will, the moment we pass the WUI code, will become totally restricted. So we're trying to make it make more sense and say this code should affect the people that it should affect, essentially.
I can't read it, but that's Fairfield Road, isn't it?
That's Fairfield, yes.
It goes
To
north, okay.
Church, yes.
Yeah, okay.
We're not changing the aerial restrictions from what we did last year.
Yeah, that's.
Because last year was the first year that we moved it down to Fairfield, all the way across the city, except for then you get to Church, and then it curves up Church all the way to 193, and then, you know, cuts back over there to the base. So west of Church is still, they can still shoot if they want to. It does not affect the.
That means we can go to Clint's.
Come on over.
So, but yes, we went back and forth on that, Councilman Roberts, about the neighbors being able to shoot, but I can't. We're trying to do what makes sense and not without wiping the entire subdivision and that entire area out for that, because, you know.
Yeah, that was a biggie last year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions about any of these, the code, fireworks restrictions, the map?
I think it's really good too on the, you know, the scaffold line that we put, where this is a future possibly Gordon Market Center,
Mhm.
that it's outside of the wildland urban interface. for the simple fact that a lot of the commercialized type of businesses that be there might have vinyl membrane roofs where it's probably unachievable if there's in the wildland urban interface. And so we thought it was a good move also to keep that open without wildland urban interface requirements.
If we felt that it needed to be in there, we would have put it in there, but it's far enough north of Gentile where Holmes Creek Reservoir is, and it's far enough west of 89 where we have those problems that I did not think that would be a risk for that.
One of the things Gavin did also, we work closely with the Division of Natural Resources, and there's representatives there that's kind of making their map of severities and everything. And we bounced this off of them, and they thought, this is a good representation for your city. So they had high confidence in that. That was, who was that, Joseph Anderson?
Yeah.
Joseph Anderson with DNR.
So we don't have any control on the mountain?
Above the city.
Well, beyond your red line?
That is either county area or national or
Okay, so
state or
that's-
national forest.
That's covered under a different
But
organization.
what this CWS, because we participated in the CWS, the Cooperative Wildfire System.
Right.
The Snow Canyon fire of 2006 was
Yeah.
started at that very last house at the top of Snow Canyon Road up there,
Right.
before those
Yeah.
other ones went up the hill, right?
Right.
The three of us were on the engine company as we pulled into that and watched it go over the hill on us, right?
Right.
So it started in Layton City. All of those, had we not been a participant in that type of thing, all of that firefighting efforts that happened that night would have come back to us, even though it raced up the hill into the
Right.
forest, right? And so that's one of the reasons we choose to participate in the CWS. And so if we bring in an aircraft or helicopters or something like that, those things drop at about a $3,000 a drop
Yeah.
rate. The aircraft are even higher than that. These areas, like where we had our fire by Layton Christian Academy, right? These areas west of 89 scare the operations people more than the stuff east of 89. Because if it gets up above the houses and moves up the mountain,
Yeah.
great, that's not our problem until about 2 AM when the winds come and turn it around and come back at us. But it's these ones that are down in Case Creek, Oak Lane,
Right.
Summerwood, that if it gets going down in there, it's gonna go both sides and we're gonna be there a bit.
Okay. Now, I'm under the impression, this goes back almost too far. Do we have like 200 acres on the side of the mountain? That's just wild.
The city?
All- The city. There was always talk about putting a park, and I never knew where they were talking about. Okay.
No, we don't have any. I'm aware of.
Okay.
The only thing we have is where the water tank is, right?
Yeah.
No, it was up above.
Above that?
Yeah. So.
Well, look at the map.
Okay.
That's our boundaries, right?
Yeah.
I assume that's what that was. Those are our boundaries right
Okay. All right, any
I
other
just wanna-
questions?
I just need a clarification really quickly. So the legislature is requiring that we be a part of this WUI. I wanted to say that.
I know, that's the thing, now we'll
Right.
remember.
But in doing so, anything that is within that is also a part of the fireworks restriction, and that's all a part of these ordinances, or is that something that
So
we're
if-
adding on?
So if we choose to do the CWS, be part of that, then we have to follow House Bill 48 and adopt a WUI map, a wildland urban interface map. And part of the code, inside the 2006 wildland urban interface code, there will be 0 fireworks. I don't know exactly how it reads, he could read it right off for you. No fireworks inside the WUI, so no aerials, no ground or anything. That's in the code.
Okay.
We spoke with legal about some things and talked about, well, can we amend that out? And the recommendation is we can make it tougher, but we can't make it less restrictive. And by taking that out, that makes it less restrictive, and we can't do that. So if we choose to participate in the CWS, which we highly recommend that we do, we have to do this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And we can amend the map if you want to. This is just our recommendation, what we're trying to do, because this is where we think we're gonna have the problems if we have them.
Is there a
You'll satisfy
deadline,
one of them.
like a time
We have to,
constraint on this?
January 1st.
Okay.
I know one of the complaints we got is now in the yellow area, so that might satisfy that.
There was a question, and I'm sorry, Mike? Okay. You talked about, what about west of Highway 177? All right. To the best of my knowledge, that's county area out there. Everything out there is county, so it doesn't fall within our city. We are, but that Phragmite out there and the duck preserve and stuff like that, that poses a pretty good,
Yeah.
it poses a pretty good fire hazard, but there's not a lot of structures out there to go after. But that's a county area, not a city area. Now, we'll still go out there and have to do it, but if something starts in the county and pushes that way, that's gonna be on Davis County. If something starts in the city and jumps 177, I don't see a lot of wildland urban interface out there until you get out to the Frag or into the Duck Marsh. Again, it's not typical wildland interface, but it burns like gasoline, so it's good. But we did look at that. We didn't feel like we needed to put something out there because most of that is county area.
Not all that. Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Kevin?
That's it.
Okay, well, thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Appreciate your support, and like I said, and everything you do day in and day out for us. It's huge.
Please reach out if you have questions.
Okay, move on. All right, let's go on to item number 5. Brad McElrath is going to present, right? And you're going to do it in the study meeting? Okay, very good. Okay, Brad, you get to talk about Stevenson's Field subdivision.
All right, thank you. I'll try to be brief on this so that way I can give you time to answer, to ask some questions. So, as you know, this is a annexation rezone request, also with a development agreement, so you've got the ordinances and a resolution tied to it. This is the general area, if you're not already familiar with it in the city. So this is the overall area that's being requested for the rezone from RS, an unincorporated area, to R110 PRUD. And you can see that overall area, and then the area here is just the annexed area. Everything else is already incorporated into Layton City. And so this is just an overview. It's 58.428 acres that are being annexed into the city. 5.47 acres of that are part of our city regional stormwater detention basin. And our annexation policy requires that we don't have any islands. So the city-owned property is being annexed into the city, and then it's also being rezoned. The request is to rezone the city properties to match the zoning that's around it. It's important to note that the area that is outlined there where the city detention basin is, that's not to be used at all for the open space requirements of the development or for the density requirements. So all the open space and everything is exclusive of the city-owned properties. This is just an overview of their concept. So you've got 335 residential units, 92 and 170. These are all single family, so these are front loaded, so traditional single family front loaded lots. The 170 are rear loaded lots, and then you've got 73 townhomes. The 73 townhomes does fall within the maximum amount of 30% of density of the units that can be attached within the PRUD. It's only 21.8% of the amount that they could have. And then because this area is located in the Ag Heritage Overlay in the general plan, it requires that they have to provide 20% open space. If it wasn't in that Ag Heritage area, it would be a smaller percentage of open space, and the project is providing 22.6%. As part of the Ag Heritage Overlay, it allows up to a maximum density of 4.9 units to the acre, and they're at 4.89. So here's the overall concept plan. You can see the different networks of streets. The reason that the streets have been laid out this way are, one, the corridor, the power line corridor, as well as providing enough streets to provide connectivity for vehicles as well as for pedestrians. Allows traffic to flow better throughout the neighborhood, and also the connections that you can see to the adjacent neighborhoods. This gives some neighborhood context to the overall area and just kind of shows you how this would fit into the rest of the area here in West Layton. So you do have a PRUD, the Harmony Place PRUD that's over here. That was all part of our previous PRUD ordinance, and so some of the things that we see here are areas that are counted towards open space that we don't count for open space nowadays.
Good.
Open space has to be usable open space. So
Good.
there's areas here, so this is brown on the plan, so I could go back to the concept plan. These are areas that in Harmony Place, those would have counted as open space. We don't count those as open space anymore. It has to be a minimum of 18 feet wide and has to be an active recreational area to be considered open space. And they've done a really good job at providing a network of open spaces throughout this whole thing. Just kind of a side note, as I was preparing for the meeting tonight, looking at some of our parks and open spaces. So they're providing a total of 15 acres of open space here, which is the 22.6% of their project. The 15 acres is greater than any of our parks except for Ellison Park and Layton Commons Park. And so that's, if you were to add that all together, that's essentially creating together another park in this, just in this subdivision. These are the amenities that they're proposing to provide within this development. So 5 developed parks, which that includes playground structures. There's 2 areas that are identified as either developed parks or dog parks. They're still assessing how they would address that and which way they want to go that route. That way, and then you can see there's other picnic areas, an outdoor recreation area, and then an interconnected trail system, which I think is really important and adds to the livability of this area, that you can get throughout the development on the trail system, as well as the dedication of the power line corridor trail. That is the only part that will be of the city detention basin that will be touched by this project, and will be an enhancement, just not to this development, but for this whole area. One thing that's interesting about the development agreement for this project is it includes a pattern book. The pattern book outlines lot type conditions, architectural styles, and design standards. You can see here attached single family, narrow lot, and also the large lot single family. And I'll go through some examples here. This is just some of the pages from there. So because the majority of the subdivision is the alley loaded single family homes, this is what for each one of those home types, there's pages that look just like this. So these are all essentially the setbacks, the allowable projections, garage requirements and encroachments, driveway requirements, dimensions for porches, and if they don't provide a porch, there's an alternative that they could provide, which would be a patio, which would have to be the same size and area as what you would get from a porch that our code requires. These are the 4 architectural styles. You've got arts and crafts, colonial revival, farmhouse, and English romantic. Those styles were all selected by Destination Homes based upon research that they did with Layton City as well as Davis County, and just what some of the historical housing types and architectural patterns have been that they felt would really complement the ag heritage area. Again, this just shows like the massing and composition of all of the buildings based upon the type of architectural style that they choose. You also get into details that we wouldn't normally otherwise get into when it comes to windows and trims, as well as like the types of roof columns and or the roof elements, cladding and columns that you might have. This is something that came up in some concerns from the public before the Planning Commission meeting, and it was already provided in the staff report, what the analysis that we did for parking. You can see that the areas highlighted in red are all areas that they're providing visitor parking. All of the homes, including the townhomes, will have 2-car garages, and those all comply with our city standards. And then going back to the conceptual site plan, again, you do have some connections here to the south. With those neighborhoods, you've got some future connections in case any of the property to the east develops. And then you have 3 connections provided here to 2200 West. One really great improvement that we're having along 2200 West with this development is that right now 2200 West, in the areas where it's not developed on either side, only has an asphalt width of about 20 feet wide. On the east side of 2200 West, that'll add an additional 12 feet of asphalt, and that doesn't include the curb gutter and sidewalk. So that the north travel lane there will be a lot wider, and when property develops on the west, then we'll be able to get the full improvement of that collector street, which it's supposed to have a 42-foot asphalt width as a collector street. There's also a stub here for this property in the future if they decide to develop. And then there are some concerns just with the neighborhoods to the south. One thing that we noticed is that this provides better pedestrian connections from the neighborhoods to the south to the school that's further to the west. So yeah, with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. try to be brief so you could ask some questions.
Name the streets that connects into those neighborhoods to the south.
Yeah, so right now this is labeled Collector Street A, but it will probably be Alberta Spruce, just a continuation of Alberta Spruce. What's nice about this is that this does provide a direct connection to Gentile Street. It's a pretty straight connection, as you can see here, mostly because, one, to provide the access points throughout the development, and also you've got this street here and this street here. They need to have a separation between them. See how it's kind of similar between these streets, the same width as it is to 2200 West. The distances between blocks is really important for safety. And then as part of this, there's this chicane, or this kind of curve of the road here as it goes down to Alberta Spruce. That's been primarily to address the need to have access from J&J and also some of the trees that they also have down in this area. But it was also an engineering thing that our public works staff required, that this does curve a little bit to help slow traffic as you go from the north to the south. This is also a stub road. Some questions were brought up in the planning commission meeting of why we had the stub roads and was it necessary. We were able to satisfactorily answer that by talking about the pedestrian and vehicular connections, but also it helps us loop our utilities. So that way the water quality and utility access is better. And then also there's more access points for emergency response.
Can you explain how the ag heritage overlay comes into effect with this?
Yeah.
Is that the Meldrum property? Is that that's not part of the development?
It's not, yeah. The Meldrums, for right now, they don't want to develop, and so this does kind of go around it, but there's a stub there. The Ag Heritage Overlay, thought it was really interesting that in the general plan, essentially, that was developed recognizing that we've got these areas in West Layton that have historically had agricultural purposes. And that as subdivisions have happened, we've begun to lose that open space area. And so with the Ag Heritage Overlay, it requires that if there's not going to be a farm there, the idea is that we preserve more open space by clustering housing units and having a greater requirement of open space. And so because of the Ag Heritage Overlay, we get more open space being provided throughout this PRUD than we would otherwise. The general plan also talks about the use of the PRUD ordinance specifically to provide open spaces to meet the intent of the Ag Heritage Overlay. The general plan also talks about that there's opportunities where people could do some neighborhood agriculture, but it's not, again, required. It's just something that is an option by providing those spaces.
That's the way I understood it, was there'd be an agriculture component to it. But
Yeah.
that's, but more open space is good.
Yep. Yeah, we recognize that, as I went through the general plan and read it, recognize that as we did the general plan, that there's not the mandate for people to have a farm that these neighborhoods have to, with their HOA, come up with like some sort of ag area, but they could within their open space that they're providing.
So down the road then, the HOA would determine if they want to convert any of that ground to ag or not, right?
For sure, yes. Yeah, and there's definitely some areas, you can see with how large some of these areas are, you could definitely have some small neighborhood agricultural plots.
Is
Well,
that,
They'll be developed though.
Yeah, as of right now, the plan is that these different areas would have parks and open and trail systems, but some of these areas aren't going to have, there'll still be green space, like grass
Right.
areas where they could run around. So in the future, if they decided that they wanted to convert that grass into
Yeah,
like,
no,
Yeah.
but they have to develop it.
yes, correct.
so when Destination came and talked to us and they were introducing these pattern books, and they talked about this as a concept at the time, I think, they did mention that there was this community gardening or farming component. Was that to be applied here, or is that just what you described where it's an option for the homeowners later?
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. It's an
Okay.
option that they would want to propose, as part of the HOA. One thing that I think is important is that Destination Homes will be a main partner in the HOA until the whole community is built out, and then they'll step back and allow the homeowners to fully take it. But because their concern as a developer is that they don't want to have maybe only a few homes occupied and then the HOA isn't running really well yet.
Right.
And so then those spaces aren't getting well maintained. They want to make sure that everything is off and running before they step back.
That's a biggie. Thank
We
you.
financially supplement the HOA until it can be on its feet.
Yeah.
Is that,
Thank you.
do they play a role till full build out or a certain percentage?
Well, we just
That's
said
a-
full build out.
That's a good question. Yeah, I believe it's full build out.
Full build out. We'll be the declarant and president, and we'll have 3 people from Destination Homes or Larry H. Miller Real Estate on the board until full build out.
What's on parcel open space K?
Let's see, which one
Is
is
it
that?
the basket? I mean,
That
Oh,
one.
is this right here?
That's a sidewalk around the pavilion area.
Yeah, it's a pavilion.
oh, there's a
It's right here.
pavilion there?
There'll be picnic pavilions at most of the areas. We're trying to keep a nod to, as much as we can, to the heritage of the property. So some of our playground areas are gonna be what we call para parks, where you use the landscaping to have mounds with hills and climbing structures, rocks, things that kids can play on that's more of a natural play
Oh, okay.
in some of them. There will be a few, your typical playground structures, swing sets, that kind of stuff, but we're gonna mix it through the community on that. And then on the ag part, we've talked about garden boxes and spots and haven't quite figured out how we want to play that in there, but we've also talked to, and have the thoughts of working with J&J Nursery to have things that they provide to their nursery in areas of our open spaces with plaques and things like that, to kind of keep some of that J&J Nurseries items in the area too.
So you said the ag park, is there a particular open space parcel that you guys are considering as the ag park?
No, we're still working on the fine details on where that can happen in the open areas. We know where playgrounds and our hammock structures and that kind of, your traditional things are gonna be, but we haven't really determined if the garden boxes. We're trying the garden boxes, we have them in our trailside subdivision, and kind of get the feel to see how they're used, because we haven't seen that in any of our other subdivisions, so.
I have a question about the Alberta Spruce Street.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, like, the way it's displayed there is really accurate, right? Because you drive up and then there's a curve and then it's a dead end.
Mm-hmm.
There's been concern for some folks in the neighborhood that right now, and I know Steve's not here, but people come off of the parkway thinking it's a through street already and they're like speeding. You know, we have a speeding problem in our city. And so
Everywhere.
they speed and then they realize that as it's curving that it's a dead end and there's like a screeching stop. So is there opportunity for, I mean, I think that this curve is probably helpful, but if there is an opportunity for other slowing measures, is that something that we would have to wait until it's built to see if that's a need, or is that something that could be proactively done?
Yeah, so we did talk to Steve about this and really the issues with speed and through traffic. And part of it will come with like as we do the preliminary subdivision plat and the final plat, the traffic impact study that will be performed and identifying like where there might be things that need to be put in place. When it comes to like locations of yield signs or stop signs, the industry standards is that those shouldn't be used to slow traffic, but they're there for safety measures. So like at intersections, that's where they would be put. And so, you know, I wouldn't anticipate that we would have, you know, a yield sign or a stop sign along that street, but maybe on the streets that connect into it. And some of those things, excuse me, one of the other things is that this Collector Street A is actually designed to be a wider right-of-way in order to accommodate the amount of traffic that will be coming from this neighborhood to the north as well as this new neighborhood to the north. That was one of those things that engineering, as they looked at this, they recognized that there needed to be a couple of streets here, this Collector Street A as well as B, that they needed to be designed as a residential collector instead of just a typical residential street, so they're a little bit wider.
Does collector A, if you go across Gentile, does it connect in to the subdivision there?
At this point, no.
I mean, well, it's there, the street's there.
Yeah, let me look here.
Not that far.
It's not that far.
Cold Creek.
Yeah, it looks
Cold
like
Creek, yeah.
there's a street here. Eventually, this street will go to the north. And so as we did talk about, you know, the potential for cut-through streets, engineering, they looked at it with their traffic counts as well. There is eventually gonna be a signal here. They've done multiple studies. It's getting closer and closer to having a signal. It's just still not quite to the warrant level to have a signal there, but it's gonna be, you know, in the near future. And then when it comes to cutting through this street is 40 miles an hour. This one, I don't know what
Yeah,
the speed
no, I
is.
was looking at where A goes, where it hits.
Yeah, Collector Street
Gentile.
A is right here.
And I was trying to think, where's Coldwater Creek?
I think it might be
Is
over
that-
To the east.
here,
Yeah, it's down.
one of these two streets.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's the chapel that's up there
Yeah.
to the north.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thought is that ultimately, when you've got this street here as well as 2200, this is 1700, I believe,
Yeah,
and 2200.
all right there. there's it.
Yeah, the majority of any cut-through traffic would be residents that live already in the neighborhood. Again, you can't prevent 100% anybody coming into a neighborhood to try to cut through, but the logical sense is that, yeah, they'd go around the other way.
Okay, all right. You guys good? I mean, I know we can ask more questions out there, but, we had one more item that we needed to bring up, so that's why I'm asking. If you feel comfortable on this for now.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Good presentation.
Yeah, so we thought that we'd take advantage of the remainder of the time to be able to get an update on the TRZ area. So with that, what we'd like to do is go into a closed-door session. So I would need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, for a second.
Second.
Thank you, you guys. We'll see. Welcome everyone out to our Layton City Council meeting this evening for December 4th. As customary, we do like to start all of our meetings with a prayer and a pledge. We take turns up here on the dais, and tonight I'm going to turn the time over to Councilmember Tyson Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'll offer a prayer, and then if I could ask everyone afterwards to join me in the pledge. Our dear Heavenly Father, we're very grateful for this opportunity to gather together today to discuss the business of this great city of Layton. We're grateful for the opportunity to live in this great community, and grateful for our neighbors, for our community members, those who give of their time to make this area better. We're grateful, Father, for all of the city employees who dedicate so much of their time away from their families to also improve our quality of life, keep us safe. Grateful, Father, for this holiday season and the opportunity to celebrate the birth of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Grateful for the time to spend with families. We ask thy blessing, Father, to be with us this day as we discuss important issues that we will be directed to make wise decisions and listen when needed. Grateful, Father, for all of our many blessings, and we ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please arise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much for leading us in that opening ceremony. At this time, I know we have 2 sets of minutes that we need to approve. So, Council, I'll ask if there's no corrections to the 2 items that are listed, then I'd ask you to go ahead and make a motion. And if so, please state the meeting and the date, please.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes of Layton City Council work meeting, September 18th, 2025, and the minutes of Layton City Council meeting, October 2nd, 2025.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we adopt the minutes as written. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we'll go down to our municipal announcements tonight, so I'll go ahead and turn that over to the council for any announcements they may have.
Mayor, thank you very much. City Council, or the Parks and Rec Department, I've had the opportunity for a couple years to serve with them. With the Parks and Rec Commission, the Parks and Rec Department created a lot of great opportunities for our residents and outside of our residents. First of all, the lights before Christmas are fully lit and ongoing just north of us, or just east of us here. Constitution Circle open from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. You can walk through, you can drive through, or you can ride the train through. So a lot of different options to enjoy the festivities there. I believe the Rotary Club sells hot chocolate in the evening. So a lot of things going on there. As well, our good curator at the museum, the Layton Heritage Museum, just south of us on the plaza, made some connections with the North Pole and has a special visitor coming December 9th, 10th, and 11th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Santa will be there. Bring the family. Enjoy the museum. Totally free, and just a great opportunity to come meet the big guy. Also, it's a little ways out, but in January, the Parks and the Recreation Department will be holding a jigsaw puzzle tournament. It'll be January 10th. This was really popular last year. 3 different tiers of difficulty, so you can get your family together Registration is required, so go to the city website, to the Parks and Recreation tab, and look for the open registration tab. And I believe it'll fill up as it did last year quickly. So fun event when it's cold outside in January to go inside a gymnasium and stay warm as a family. So thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Just to add upon those light displays out here, I think it's hats off to our Parks and Rec department on just the fabulous job they do year in and year out, excuse me. And the fact that, just for fun fact about that, it takes them quite a while to put up all those lights, and they actually start in October in order to accomplish this evening. But please pay attention to the list of events on the Parks and Rec website, because we will be having active pages next week as well, which is a fun narrative storytelling event that takes place in the park, and you'll move from station to station. And when that's on, the train will not be running, but pretty much every weekend the train will be there. As mentioned, you've got in addition to hot chocolate, they're selling churros as well. So it's chocolate, churros, and a choo-choo that can take place there. So anyway, support the active pages as well. That's a fun event. Okay, Council, does anybody else have any announcements? One more thing. Speaking of the museum, since there's so many of you here, there's a fabulous display on right now, and it's of all kinds of nutcrackers. The neat thing about this nutcracker display is its collections or nutcrackers from several different citizens throughout our community. So it's really a community display of nutcracker collections. Okay. With that, I'll go ahead and move on then to a fun part of our meeting, and one that we all look forward to, and to acknowledge a very special group of young students that are willing to participate in our Layton City Youth Council. So we have a new group each year, and tonight we have the honors of being able to swear in this group. And I know that each one of us take different roles without the city. And I know that Councilmember Thomas is our liaison for the Layton City Youth Council. Would you want to share any words before we get started with that?
They look good.
Okay, is Serena here? Okay, I didn't see you back there. Okay, so with that, I'd like to turn the time over to Serena, who is our Youth Council coordinator, council leader, who gets to work one-on-one with these kids. And so, Serena, I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Petro. Members of the Layton community and Mayor Petro and City Council, it is my privilege to recognize the group of remarkable young individuals who truly represent the future of our community, the Layton City Youth Council. This civic group is composed of the best of the best. I keep telling everyone that. This is the best. These kids, they're the best of the best among Layton's youth. They're dedicated to service, leadership, and learning about government. Over the past year, the Youth Council has been incredibly active and productive. Their commitment to improving our community is evident in their impressive track record of service. They have selflessly dedicated their time and energy to a variety of causes, participating in no fewer than 10 service projects. Through these projects, they've collectively donated an astounding 417 service hours to our city, and raised over $600 for the Sub for Santa program. These hours represent tangible contributions to the well-being of our neighbors and the vibrancy of our shared spaces. Furthermore, this group is committed to civic education. They gather faithfully twice a month to engage in meaningful discussions and learn about the workings of both local and state government. This commitment ensures that their passion for service is matched by an understanding of how to effect positive change through civic engagement. The dedication, maturity, and community spirit demonstrated by the Layton City Youth Council is truly inspiring to me. They are a shining example of youth leadership, And Layton City is very fortunate to have such an engaged and caring young citizens among us. Please join me in offering a round of applause for the accomplishments of the Layton City Youth Council as we have them come forward. Please come forward on my side. You can go up and shake the council members and the mayor's hands before we swear you in. Yeah, you're going to have to step over this.
Okay, I'm not going to be able to see you because I have to speak in the microphone. But raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Utah, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Congratulations.
Mayor, we ask to be excused for a moment from the meeting to celebrate.
We will acknowledge that but beforehand, I failed to acknowledge a few folks in the audience that I think deserve a special recognition tonight. First off, I see that we have a previous mayor in the audience, Jimmy Layton. Thank you. Also, we have the honor of the commander of Hill Air Force Base, Colonel Dan Cornelius. Would you please stand?
Wow.
Also, we have a council member-elect, Mike Calendrianis. Okay, the youth may be excused, so we'll give them a minute. And while they're being excused, I just have to say thank you very much. You kids do a lot of work throughout the city. You help with all the different events, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And we do appreciate everything you've done and continue to do. I think that shows the support we have within our youth in this community and the fact that these kids were here. You saw the family support as well, and it just bodes honestly to the fact that we care about our youth and we really want to educate them and help them really grow within our community and help make it a vibrant area for all of us to live and work and have fun here. So with that, let's go ahead and continue on with our meeting. Now is the time that I'll open it up for citizens' comment. The citizens' comment period is for anyone who wishes to address this governing body. And however, if you're here, though, for our public hearing meeting, then I'd ask that you wait until we open that public hearing and we can hear those comments at that time. But other than that, anyone who wishes to address us, you're more than welcome to do so. Just please state your name and what city you're from.
Riverdale Roll from Layton, and it's nice to see the faces because I've gotten a lot of your brochures over the years, so that I voted for you. I'm here to support, and I hope this is the right time, to support the dog park for Layton. Is this the right time for that?
It's not on the item, so yes, this is a perfect time.
Yeah, we have a group that's on Facebook now. And about 2 years ago, I was walking my dogs about 4 miles a day. Now, it's lucky if I do a mile. So I had a total knee replacement. And there's a lot of us that have lived here in Layton for quite a while. I've been here since '84, moved from Florida, worked here for 30 years at South Weber Elementary. So just here to support the efforts to get a dog park for people like me. And I've been to I think it's called Wagging Tails Dog Park in Syracuse. And it's such a great place to meet people, talk to people, such a wide variety of dogs. And I think I'm here just to support that, and hopefully, we've done a lot of great things for Layton, and boy, has it grown since I've been here in '84, and I was just hoping that maybe we could add that to our items that we've done. So I appreciate all your work that you do. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else? Go ahead and come up.
Hi, my name is Nathan Rodriguez, also a resident of Layton, and also in support of the dog park. I've lived here since 2018. One of the first things that I've noticed is I did an online search for a dog park and was a little bit surprised to see that there wasn't one in Layton. I thought perhaps it was called something else or referred to as something else, but it looked like the nearest one was in Riverdale, the greater Ogden area, and was just kind of surprised that the city of this size and caliber just didn't have something for dogs. I'm fortunate to have a fenced-in yard for our dogs to run around in, but many other dog owners who live in the city aren't as lucky. A dog park is a gathering space for dogs and owners to be able to socialize. Leashed walks around neighborhoods and trails are certainly nice, but they're inadequate for dogs to just blow off steam and kind of run around and have fun with some other dogs. I think it would be a wonderful resource for the community to enjoy. Dogs bring joy to our lives. A park for dogs would enhance the livability and sense of connection and community in the city of Layton. And so I would just simply request that the council endeavors to actively pursue such a project, as it would bring both immediate and long-term benefits for dogs, dog owners, and the greater community. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, seeing that there's no other comment regarding items that are not on our agenda, I'll go ahead and skip down to item number 6. We do not have any consent items tonight, so we'll just go right to our public hearing portion of our meeting. So before we go into the public hearing portion of it, we do want the presentation that will be presented by Weston Apolloni, and it's regarding the Stevenson Field subdivision.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I am going to just make a note. I've noted so I don't forget, but just in case, I'm going to bring it up right now as part of our recommendation. There is a resolution number that was not tied to. The resolution is called out, but the resolution number is not called out in your staff report. So that resolution is 25-53. So as a part of the recommendation, that is tied to the development agreement. So approval of that development agreement would be resolution 2553. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is an annexation and rezone request for a property that's located roughly on the corner of 2200 and Gentile, is identified in the area in red. This is the area identified for the rezone. There is some area of this ground that's already annexed into the city. And then this is the area in red that's identified for the annexation. So there is a total of 75.66 acres for the full project, 58.42 of which is being requested for an annexation. Just a few components of the development request. This is a rezone request to an R110 PRUD. This includes a total of 75.66 acres. That includes a portion of the city owns, which is 7.24 acres of a detention pond. The detention pond is not a part of the development. The density or open space will not be included as a part of this development. It's just included within the annexation, tied to the annexation requirements of the county, that there is no thank you. So the Stevenson Fields subdivision concept includes 335 residential units, 92 single-family front-loaded lots, 170 single-family rear-loaded lots, and 73 townhomes. The neighborhood ag heritage overlay, which is a designation identified in the general plan, allows for a base density of 3.5 units with a maximum density of 4.9. The proposed density is 8.9. That density is occurred by providing open space amenities, design amenities, and additional recreational facilities to allow for that density increase. The R110 PRED with the ag heritage is required to have 20% open space. The development is proposing 22.6. And then the maximum number of townhomes that are allowed or attached units that are allowed are 30%. They're providing 73, which is 21.8% of the units. This development is tied to a development agreement as well, as mentioned earlier. This is a conceptual site plan of the development. The greenish or toothpaste color looking lots are the larger lots within the development and are designed to be mostly on the outside of the subdivision, with the oranger lots, the orange lots being the rear-loaded detached single family, and then the blue, the darker blue lots are the townhomes, the attached units. As you can see, there's a wide variety of the open space that we talked about. This is you can see the gray area here is identified as the city's detention basin, and there will be a trail, part of the regional trail that will be placed with the development on city property and within the property of the development, which will be part of as I said, a regional trail. This is the neighborhood context to give you an idea of how the roads connect. Just going through the landscape amenities, again, there's 22.6% of open space. This includes 5 development parks, 2 developed parks that could be potential dog parks. They're still working through that. 2 picnic areas, outdoor recreational areas, interconnected trail systems, and again, that Utah Power and Light Corridor Trail. This development is tied to a pattern book. This pattern book is designed to outline the design standards and the setbacks and all the requirements for building within this area. The pattern book is based off our municipal code, and the design standards are based off of the product that Destination has been researching to bring to Layton, and that they've recognized that these styles and qualities they've seen within Davis County and Layton that have been timeless, that they want to keep and continue to add to our area. Just as a snippet to give you an idea of what this packet would look like, this is one of the pages that regulates the single-family detached narrow lots. On the first column here provides your setbacks and your requirements for your site plan, and then your allowable projections, your garage requirements. We require the garages to be at 20 by 20 feet. That's interior dimensions. That's the largest we can require from state code. And then additional criteria for porch design or potentially patio design on each of the units. The architectural styles are outlined here: arts and crafts, colonial, farmhouse, and English romantic, and are tied to each of the types of units that we've discussed. And so what will happen is, when we receive a building permit, once it gets through that stage, one of these units will be selected, and we will go through this packet selecting these specific types of units. These units will be tied to a specific facade as outlined here, and then we will tie them to the specific windows that they provided for each of the unit types, the columns, the roof structures, and that's what they will be permitted to build. Parking analysis was completed with the review of this development. The area outlined in red is identifying the guest parking areas. Each of these units will be required to have 2-car garages. And so in addition to the guest parking, all the units have 2-car garages, with the front-loaded, which is the green units, will also have a driveway for parking as well. Okay, that's just kind of a synopsis. I want to cover over just a couple little bits that wasn't brought up as we were going through that, especially with the parking. That parking analysis, with the single-family detached, there's a required 524 parking stalls that's required out of all of those units. That includes the garage stalls. Townhomes are required to have 164 stalls. So the total required number of stalls is 688. The development is providing 729, exceeding the allotment that's required. The development agreement of the rezone request, the applicant has worked with staff to create this development agreement for the purposes of the subdivision. The agreement is intended to further the city ordinances and regulations established by specific design standards and the development plan for the neighborhood, and outline any modifications for strict compliance with city code. The proposed street networks have been designed in accordance with the public works standards to address traffic circulation and access to the neighborhood and from access from other neighborhoods. 2 residential collector streets are located through the development and will be accessed from Gentile and 2200 with connectors to adjacent residential neighborhoods. The subdivision includes other residential streets designed to meet city standards in a manner to provide additional connections to Gentile and 2200 West. On November 25th, 2025, the Planning Commission forwarded a recommendation of approval to the City Council for the rezone request of approximately 75.66 acres located at approximately 2073 West Gentile Street from RS, residential suburban, and unincorporated areas to R110 PRED, single-family residential, planned residential unit development with a development agreement. Staff supports the Planning Commission's recommendation and also the recommendation of the City Council adopt Ordinance 2511 and 2512 and Resolution 2553, approving the annexation, rezone request, and development agreement. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I also will say that I've got Brad McElrath with me, our city planner, who did a lot of this work and is very knowledgeable, so if there's something that I'm not able to address, I'd love to bring him up and have him answer some of those questions as well.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Council, do you have any questions before we open up the public hearing? You can ask now, or you can wait until the public hearing. I mean, I'm just offering it to you because that's typically what we do.
First of all, thanks for taking some time to chat with me earlier today. Answered a lot of my questions then, but also other ones have come up. So,
sure.
First of all, can you talk about is there private and public streets in this development? I assume the alleys are private, but other than that?
Correct. The alleys are private. This road connection here, this cul-de-sac would be private. Everything else is public.
So all of the lettered streets are, well,
yeah,
everything but the alleys.
All the interior
everything but
stuff,
the rear load.
Yep, all that's private. All these are private.
Okay.
But your main street network that you see, all of that is public.
So what are the widths of those different streets?
The majority of them are 58 feet. This one up here is a 62-foot right-of-way.
Okay. Also, can you talk about the improvements that'll be done to 2200? Brad talked about it in the work meeting, but.
Yeah. So there we go. 2200 will be widened across the full length of that project on that side of the road. And Brad, 12 feet is added? 12 feet of asphalt will be added to that.
Plus curb and gutter, sidewalk?
Yeah, curb, gutter, and sidewalk will be in addition to that 12 feet. That's just the asphalt.
Okay, and one other for now. I asked you if you had a number for me before, kind of, and maybe this is a Steve question, but is there an average estimated trips per day per unit in Utah? Or?
I did get a hold of Steve.
Great.
Thanks for asking that. I appreciate it. So for a single-family home, 9.43 trips per day averaged on a single-family home. On a townhome, it's 7.2 trips per day. There is a traffic impact study that's tied to this development that will be reviewed at preliminary. Engineering has already looked at this, and the roads will meet capacity. Matter of fact, they over-meet capacity for what this is, and so do the surrounding roads. Obviously, there's things that we just talked about. The widening of 2200 needs to occur, but the surrounding facilities, the development in the surrounding community and this one will facilitate that traffic.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask the question since you're on the roads. Obviously, with the focus going forward on active transportation and alternative transportation, is it possible or has it been addressed or could you look at it regarding bike lanes possibly in this area? In particular, probably on the Collector A and obviously 2200 West with that widening?
We would rely on our transportation master plan and our active transportation plan. We can pull that up and look at what that is and reference that for you.
Okay.
I don't have that right now, but I'll mark that down and we'll give you an answer.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. Weston, thank you for providing the Planning Commission meeting minutes for us to review. 3-hour meeting, so a lot of input. That's great, and we've got the minutes from that, so it was good to get a feel for issues and topics for tonight. My question is infrastructure. We can't see infrastructure underneath so water, storm drain, sewer. Did you talk about are we at capacity, under capacity? Just talk about those 3 infrastructures.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not at capacity. This area it was planned to have this. And there might be some upsizing the developer has to do on some of their areas, but the area will hold that capacity. So there's no issue with any of the utility connections.
Go ahead, and then I will.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. Weston, can you talk about Sugar Pine Way, that connection down there as it relates to utilities and kind of the maybe emergency response vehicles, or just talk to me about that connection down there.
Yeah,
and its purpose.
You're pointing to down here, right? Yeah. Okay. So when subdivisions are created, we'll talk about the existing subdivision. When that was created, it was intended to be stubbed specifically to connect to future connections to allow for not just emergency services, but it's really critical that we loop our utilities. Water is a critical utility to loop. Once we go too far with our water lines, the pressure suffers if we don't have looped connections. And so our roads are not just servicing our roads, they're servicing our utilities as well. So our storm drain, our water, all of our utilities generally sit in our roadways. And so not just for access, but it's a critical connection for emergency services and our utility connections.
Speaking of the utility connections or infrastructure, I have to ask the question just because of my history here. I know back when Gentile Street was reconstructed, when we redid all the infrastructure in there with new water sewer lines, well, primarily water, stormwater, or sewer and stormwater, it seemed like there was a payback agreement possibly for future development in these areas. Was this one of those properties that would apply to?
I know that was being looked into. I don't have all the details on that.
Okay, you're not, yeah, okay, yeah. I was going to say, I remember, just because I was part of it back then, or I wasn't on the council, but I was impacted by that as well, so, okay, thank you.
Can I ask a
Questions?
question? Can you go back up to that collector A, and you said that street width, did you say it was 62?
That's a 62-foot right-of-way, yes.
And Alberta Spruce currently is 58, right?
Mhm.
And so is Alberta Spruce going to be widened, or is that
It
it's
won't be
going to
widened.
narrow to get into Alberta Spruce?
No, I mean, 58-foot right-of-way is still a sufficient size right-of-way. The 62-foot right-of-way just accounts for, this is a large subdivision, and it's recognized that there could be some additional traffic that comes through this section of the subdivision, and so it's widened to account for that. But a 58-foot right-of-way still has sufficient room to park on both sides of the road and drive through.
But as it enters, as collector A enters back into the current Alberta Spruce, it'll narrow to get back to where it is.
It'll taper in.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So I asked in the work meeting about just that section and how people presently, according to residents, are entering Layton Park, off of Layton Parkway, and they're thinking that they're going somewhere. Currently, they're not. They're not going anywhere, but they're speeding. Can you speak to what the dimensions, or not dimensions, but how this road is designed and how that could help mitigate the speed?
So this curve here is referred to as a chicane, which slows people down as you're coming in into, or on either way you're coming into that. It will slow vehicles down. In addition to that, the traffic impact study will review these specific intersections and identify if yield signs are required, if stop signs are required. That will be a component of the preliminary and final plans.
Could that also include roundabouts? I mean, I know if you go further west, when you're entering in on your way to Sunburst off of Gentile, there's a roundabout there. Is that something also that could be looked at as opposed to yield sign or stop sign maybe?
Typically, the roundabouts push traffic through faster, and so this is an area we wouldn't necessarily want to encourage roundabouts, and it would definitely change the development. But if there was a need for it, obviously it could be looked at, but it's not something that we would recommend, and I don't respectfully would speak for engineering. I don't think they would recommend that either.
Perhaps maybe along those lines, though, that we could look at, I guess, the bulb outs, right? That helps with the speed.
Yeah, I mean,
in those areas, just to maybe as a different type of calming effect.
Yeah, and again, this is tied to a traffic impact study, so that will be looked at to see if. And again, we talked about it in the work session. Stop signs and yield signs, they're not intended. They're traffic flow measures, right? They're not traffic calming measures. And so we're not trying to calm the traffic down. We're trying to negotiate the traffic in the safest way possible. So that's what we'll be looking at when they examine that.
Okay. One more question on that, Collector Street A. Does the wideness of the road actually increase speed?
Wider roads could potentially increase speed. Wider roads also facilitate parking on the street a little bit easier as well, too.
Okay. Because I guess I'm curious, because we already have sufficient stalls, and so if we're worried about speed, having the wider streets may actually induce greater speeds, particularly because that road is straight. I live on one, not that far from here, and it's really wide, and it is, people just fly up it, and it doesn't go anywhere.
Sure.
But this would go somewhere because it would connect between Layton Parkway and Gentile. So I'm just curious if there'd been any discussion about that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I would rely on engineering, their full recommendation, recognizing that that there is going to be some cut through, but their analysis was that this cut through would be limited as far as not trying to access the West Davis corridor and not trying to access other regions beyond the developments that are within the short span of where they're already at.
and I know you're not Steve, so I'm
Sure.
sorry I have to ask you this,
No,
but do we
ask
know,
away.
do we have a time frame for when the warrants will be sufficiently met for the light down there at 2200 in Layton Parkway?
He's not provided a time frame for me. I mean, it would be an estimate if he did, and he, would have to take a stab in the dark, but has said that in the last 2 years, they've studied it 4 times. They're actively looking at it, and we'll continue to actively watch that, and when it hits warrants, we'll immediately get it in there.
Okay.
Okay. Question? Go ahead.
Just open space. I know something was said and I missed it. So open space is more than is
Required for this
Yeah,
development?
so they're required to have
There it is.
20% open space. They're providing 22.6.
Okay,
Which-
and then when we talked in the meeting, you guys mentioned that part of that open space will be playgrounds, what we call playgrounds today, and then part of that open space will be playgrounds, what we had when I was a kid. Hills, rocks, places to play without plastic being in the way. Okay.
Speaking of open spaces, just for clarification purposes, the detention basin is not included in this open space, correct?
That's correct.
So I think some folks were questioning that, and I just want to make sure that's clear.
So for full clarification, they are putting in a trail through that detention basin. That's still, even though they're doing that, that's still not counting towards any density bonuses or any open space requirements that they're required to have.
Okay, thank you.
So you probably don't have this, but to piggyback off of that, would you be able to provide, the answer is yes, will you provide the total percentage of open space in this development, including the Layton City portion, even though it's not a part of the development, just to get a good feel for what percentage of this whole 75, I think it's 75 acres, this whole 75 acres is actually open space?
Sure, we can run that.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other additional questions?
One more, Mayor.
Okay, that's fine. That's
If you
the
have
purpose
it,
of this.
great. Just looking at the Collector Road A, is it called? The one on the,
No, east?
yeah, Collector Street A.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to pull the crystal ball out and see where people are going to choose to go out of this subdivision, or if someone tried to use it as a cut-through street. Do you know the speeds of, I know the Layton Parkway is 35 miles an hour from this area, from the end of Alberta Spruce to 2700 West. I think it was said 2200 is 40 miles an hour.
That's correct.
Is that right? 30, or Gentile, is it 40? Is it 40?
40 right
through
there.
there? Okay. And the Collector Street, I'm assuming neighborhood, it's
25.
25 in all of them. Okay. Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Can you go back one slide to show the the one that shows the parkway, and that one. The Fieldstone development is also a PRUD, correct?
Over here, yes.
Yeah, and it was our previous PRUD ordinance.
That's
so
correct.
It looks substantially different than what it looks like now. Can you talk about the difference between those? That's my first question. And I guess the second one is a PRUD is not an entitlement. It's just they ask for it and we say we want to give it or not. So this is a neighborhood ag overlay. So what would a development just conceptually look like? How would it be different if it did not have the PRUD element?
Yeah. Brad, would you exit out of that slide? We've got a slide that I can pull up that if you'd click on that, just above. This is just from our general plan. Give you a general context. So the area in the top would be a PRUD. It has your open space. If you're not looking at an open space, and this is based off of an R110, you would be at a standard subdivision. Any lots ranging from 10 to potentially 12 or 15,000 square feet. And then I apologize, your first part.
The first one was just what the difference between the Fieldstone development PRUD and this one. It's obviously they look a lot different.
Yeah, they do. So open space was huge. So it was a 30, maybe 35%, I can't remember, so don't quote me on what the actual percent was, required to be open space. But that open space accounted for side yards, some rear yards, large spans that you may not be able to do anything in. And so they could get a lot of open space without it really being open space. It also didn't require amenities.
Or any townhomes.
That's right. Thank you. There's another component of this current PRUD which does allow for 30% townhomes.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? I mean, certainly as we go along, you guys are welcome to ask additional questions, but if not, then I'd like to bring it back to the council and take action on opening. Oh, excuse me.
If you're okay, Mayor, we can just answer Patina's question really quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so if we were to include the city detention basin, which again, we aren't, but it would be 30% of that entire 75.66 acres would be open space. And so it ends up being 22.72 acres.
Okay. Yeah. It's a good increase. Okay, thank you. Okay, so with that, council, then I'll bring it back to you to take action to open our public hearing regarding the Stevenson Field subdivision.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay. Second? Second. Okay, it's been moved in second. So at this time, we'd like to turn it over to anyone in the audience that wish to address us regarding this public hearing. Once again, make sure you state your name and what city you're from. And certainly, if you have a representative that's speaking on behalf of a group, then we'll give you plenty ample time. But if not, if you choose to do individual comments, then if you can, try not to ask the same question or emphasize the same point. And we'll certainly take everything into consideration. So with that, the time is now yours.
Hello, my name is Travis Baker. This is my wife, Marcy. We are Layton City residents. We live in the Evergreen Farms Phase 1 subdivision directly to the south on White Pine Drive, so our property would abut the development. We drafted a petition that we presented to the Planning Commission. I forwarded that to you council members in an email, also with our other thoughts. I'll do my best to speak a little bit for our neighborhood. A lot of them had prior commitments, a busy time of year. They wanted to be here, but there's a lot of stuff going on. So first off, let me say thank you. We do understand how much time and effort and thought you put into this thing. We have family members that have served in city councils and as mayors, and we understand that you put a lot of time and thought and effort into this. We appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you about this and express our concerns and have you listen. We want to be clear. We're not anti-development. We understand that growth needs to happen, that growth will happen. We appreciate that the landowners have a right to sell property, and we appreciate that developers have a right to develop that property and to do it in the way that best benefits them. We just want to express our concerns that we have a real concern for the safety and public health in our neighborhood with the increase in traffic. I know that there's obviously been efforts made to provide adequate parking stalls, and engineering studies have been done. But as an engineer by profession, let me caution you, even though I live by the numbers, they don't always tell the full story. And just because a road has capacity doesn't mean that it won't be too busy for children to play on it. So we really would just love to see this development not connected to our neighborhood. That would probably alleviate most of our concerns. Our neighborhood right now, the utilities are fine. The emergency access is fine. Eventually, it'll obviously have another little piece connected there to the south that'll provide even more access and utility loops. So that would be our request, is that you direct the city planner and the developer to not connect our subdivision on top of all the other concerns, but that would be the easiest way to alleviate our concerns.
I just would like to share, excuse me, a brief experience that happened in our neighborhood this summer, one that really shaped how I think about the safety on our streets. My 11-year-old daughter was out riding bikes with her twin sister and a friend, something that they do all the time in our quiet neighborhood. It was an ordinary afternoon, and in an instant, everything changed. Out of nowhere, she lost her balance, fell hard, and became pinned under her bike. She couldn't move. The fall snapped her thumb, and she was lying in the middle of the street, scared and in pain. And then she heard the sound of an Amazon delivery truck coming up behind her. She told me afterward that she was terrified, absolutely convinced that she was going to be run over because she couldn't get out of the street. As a parent, hearing your child say this and describe that fear, it stays with you. Thankfully, her twin sister managed to jump off of her bike, run back, lift the bike off of her, and get her out of the road. Their friend called her mom, who was able to drive over, pick her up, put the bike in the truck, bring her home. We were unbelievably lucky that day. We were blessed, really, that she walked away with only a broken thumb and a sore ankle. But I keep thinking about how easily that could have been different. And this happened in a quiet, low-traffic street, the kind of street where kids are supposed to be able to play and to ride and just be kids. That's why the safety in our streets matters so much to us. Our kids play here, they ride here, they grow up here. Even in a quiet neighborhood with minimal traffic, accidents happen in an instant. Adding hundreds of cars cutting through our small streets, delivery truck drivers, Walmart Plus, Uber Eats, all of those things, besides the residents of this new community, will only increase the odds of a situation ending like this, ending differently. We're speaking up today not because we're against of growth, but because we want our children and everyone's children to be safe in the streets that we use every day.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay. Anyone else?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lauren Jepson. I live in Layton. I live kind of around the corner from Travis and Marcy there in the Evergreen subdivision. So I guess quick question. I know it was mentioned the widening of 2200 for the new portion. Has there been any discussion about widening for the portion with the existing houses already? Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll hear all the comments and then we'll come back and address them.
Just throwing that out there because I've heard of that. That's happened in, my friend lives in another neighborhood and that happened to him and they took like 6 feet of his yard after he was already there and that was very upsetting to him. So I'm wondering if that's going to happen to the people that are already existing there. Just throwing that out there. But I agree with Travis here. So I'm not an engineer by trade, but I worked with a lot of them in the military and as a defense contractor and other places. And just because you can doesn't mean it always works or is a good idea. For example, so I flew the B-52, and one time we had a bunch of Boeing engineers come and say, "Oh, we got this cool new product and everything for inside the cockpit and yada yada yada," and they took an hour or two explaining how this worked on a laptop, and we all just looked at each other. And mind you, we called ourselves, we were just crew dogs, okay? We just want to know how to turn it on, like push a button to make it work and turn it off. That's all we need, right? Another example, after I flew the B-52, I went to special warfare, and we had guys come and show us all this cool tech. And we just called ourselves Knuckle Dragon TAC P, stands for Tactical Air Control Party. And we just like to break stuff, to be honest. And they brought us all this tech, and again, we're just like, where's the on, off, make stuff blow up? Like, we just want to do that. And then again, as a defense contractor, people pointing out, the engineer's great job doing their thing, but it's like, how do we stick our hand behind here and make some adjustments and maintain this? And they're like, oh yeah, I haven't thought about that. So with all that being said, I know the engineers have done their studies and things, but I mean, if you just rough math, that's like additional 1,400 people, another 700 cars. I know they say it might work, but is it really a good idea? Is it really going to work? I know a lot of us, we live right all around there. We grew up riding our bikes there and everything like that. I'm all, like, again, I'm like Travis, I'm all for building housing, and we need that. But is there a way that we can look at it and potentially change it? I know we're like way down that road with the development agreement. But in the military, we always say there's a waiver for everything. So I'm always like, well, how do we make change? So that's just my question: is could we look at it and really be like, is this really going to work? And then how do we make that change in the development agreement to make that happen? So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Ben Tate. I sent an email, so thank you for reading that ahead of time. I'm on Alberta Spruce Drive. Just had a couple of things that I don't think have been brought up in either of the meetings. Destination has some beautiful homes. I do know that they have their 3-story plans that are featured in Trailside between the storage units and the residential. And on page 46 of the packet, it mentioned those 3 stories being potentially included. And those are larger and have some nice features, but they also have more capacity, more cars and things. So I might suggest, you don't see a lot of 3-story structures west of Main Street on Gentile. So maybe that you look at those 3-story options and whether or not those are a good inclusion. The other thing, I love the Larry Miller Group. Sincerely, I can't read Larry Miller's biography without crying, because I've benefited so much from his theaters and jazz and all the things. And I'm wondering if we can make them spend more money and develop the Layton land underneath that large parcel that we're talking about as green space, but not. Because right now, we're talking about a lot of extra soccer teams coming out of these new homes. Right now, they try to use the LDS property on Gentile, but it'd be nice, and they can go over to Harmony. But just if we can get that developed as part of this, and whether they're paying for it or the city's paying for it, but a true green space like that, where you can actually kick a ball, catch a ball, I think the households already need it. So with 300 more. The other thing that I would just end with is, I know what chicanes do, I know what roundabouts do. I would love, as we reference these things and answer questions for Mr. Roberts and others that have asked questions, if there could be some kind of addendum at some point that helps us understand the engineering, what conversations were had, and what those differences are, because I am concerned that you plan for the east-west traffic. I think that it's safe to assume that a similar development will be east of this, probably within 15 years, and getting those people to Gentile and to 2200 West, I think, should be considered. I know that that's not the plan, but I've worked, I'm a realtor that works a lot with developers, and the land that sells first is the land that's never going to sell. We all know that, and appreciate you hearing these few things.
Okay, thank you very much.
I am Winston Gillis. I also live in Layton. I'm in the Evergreen Ivory neighborhood to the east of Travis's, and my concern
Excuse
is.
me, do you mind restating your name?
Yeah, Winston Gillis.
Weston?
Winston.
Winston.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. My concern is the collector road that comes down through Alberta Spruce, going from, it looks like Gentile down all the way over through our neighborhood to Parkway. I don't know if there's something that can be done to ensure the speeds stay down, because that's going to be probably widely used. I don't know if you can put speed bumps or something through there to control the speed, because teenagers especially tend to ignore speed limit signs. But that would be my biggest concern. I live on the street that's just to the east. I live on Austrian Pine Drive, which is to the east of Alberta Spruce. So we won't see necessarily the traffic over there, but that is going to increase the throughput for our neighborhood substantially, I think. Because I think people will take that route rather than going further west hitting 2200 and then hitting Parkway. So just food for thought.
Okay, thank you.
you.
Okay, next.
Mayor and Council, my name is Tom Toronto. I also live in Layton City. This is actually the third time that we've lived in Layton City. I grew up in Farmington and thought that was heaven, and we've truly learned to appreciate Layton as a little piece of heaven as well, especially when you pronounce it without the T. Layton, mountains, and other things. So my background is in the geospatial industries, GIS. So Doug Pierce is one of your residents. He just recently left here. I have worked extensively with engineers over the past 20 years and lived in Arizona for a while and worked with the city of Goodyear for an annexation of 90 square miles. So from I-10 down to I-8. That was an adventure in planning all of that out to really hit those target densities for everything open space, public space, all the different residential densities and everything else. I understand, having worked at engineering firms, the time spent to create iterations of these layouts. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort and sweat, and those poor drafters who get to go back and redraw all of the layouts in the homes. And I know that there's iteration 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possibly. I believe that looking at the single unit homes in here and having done some of these myself in the past, that there might be an opportunity to go back and look at this and see, and I understand that there's an effort to try to really provide opportunities for homes. I have kids. I know, they want to live in Utah at some point as well, and not quite sure how they're going to be able to afford these homes as well. But looking at this density, the targeted densities seem quite intense and high compared to what we're typically used to in this area. And so I would propose that this plan could be looked at again and potentially reduce the densities that are intended as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Hi, my name is Richard Romney. I've submitted a statement, I guess is what you would call it, to the council, and appreciate your attention to that, and received a letter from you, Mayor, and I appreciated that response. I have some notes I've taken during the meeting. I'll go through those in just a moment. One of my questions was what we really mean by agricultural heritage. It's a term that sounds nice. I don't understand what we're doing in any of this that preserves agricultural heritage. It just seems odd to me that we're justifying something that is doing the exact opposite of what it says it's doing to me. I'm particularly concerned about the bird habitat. That was the primary focus of the letter that I wrote to the council. If we could go to the diagram that had the different colors on it. This will do, yeah, this will work. If you look up in the upper corner of that diagram, right at the top right corner, you'll see underneath the power lines there, they've already planned that as an open space. If you go to that upper right corner, there is a grove of trees there that has been there for years, that is the habitat of native birds in the area. There's a pair of hawks that live in the area. There are, I counted birds the other day, I got up to over 300 birds that live in those trees. And we're just wantonly tearing that down. We have a stand of old growth pine trees on the other end of the development, and we were told in the earlier meeting that those will be bulldozed. If we're truly looking at agricultural heritage, it would seem to me that there ought to be maybe some way of incorporating existing habitats into that overall planning. That's basically the gist of what I sent to the council. Also, some questions that I have just noted as we've been going through the presentation. Not to get into repeating things, but just to ask for clarification. It seemed like in the plans that were presented, all of the structures are multi-story buildings. I didn't see a single-story home. Everything there was at least 2 stories tall. I wonder if that ought to be considered. The traffic on Gentile at times, I drive on Gentile. I go over there almost every day. It's not a quiet street. And if you go there at certain times of day, I would say anybody, take your engineers, take anybody over there when J&J is busy. Try and drive up and down that street on rush hour. It's already overly busy. And now we're saying we're going to add to that. 2200, similar concerns. It's a narrow road. It's not always been repaired well. There are a lot of potholes. There's no bicycle space there at all. It's dangerous at times. We're going from what zoning to what zoning. I'm not sure I understand all the zoning things, but it seems to me like we are going from a lower density zoning to a higher density zoning. Whatever terms you want to use, we're looking at the neighborhoods that surround this proposed area. There's going to be an increased density, whether you call it high density, low density, whatever. It's an increase of density compared to the other neighborhoods around it. Some of us don't understand why, if the water shares are sufficient as they are now, then why did we have water rationing just a couple of years ago? If we truly have sufficient water for the area, then why have so many of us had to cut off our water before the growing season was over? There are proposed trails in here. I'm not sure I understand. I'm not sure if anybody understands how this proposed trail connects to other trails that don't exist yet, that are supposed to be some part of an overall agricultural heritage. How is a trail preserving agricultural heritage, especially a trail that only goes from one end of the development to the other end of the development and doesn't connect to anything? I was talking with my wife. By the way, I live on Austrian Pine Drive, which is just around the corner from that top part of the area. My wife and I were talking and said that we moved to the country to get out of the city. Now you're trying to put us back into the city. And one of the reasons we moved here was because of the agricultural feeling of the neighborhood. And are we going to turn it back into the old neighborhoods, high-density areas that we lived in Salt Lake, and turn it from an agricultural community into a rural or a suburban community? There are so many children in this neighborhood already, and more and more and more of them. Please, let's do all we can to make it safe for the children. Another issue that I think needs to be explored thoroughly is there are areas here that are proposed as open areas, but working with HOAs, I'm on the HOA board in our neighborhood, and there are things that HOAs control that are not public areas. So how much of this will be limited by the HOA to members of that particular neighborhood, and how much of it will be open to full community access? Those are my questions. I thank you for your time. I appreciate your willingness to listen to us as citizens. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to add to the list here? Okay, well, seeing that there's none at the moment, Weston, do you mind coming back up, and Brad, if you need to, and let's kind of address some of these questions here that these folks have.
hopefully I captured everything, but catch me on something if I don't clarify it enough. There's some concerns around increased traffic. This neighborhood, it will bring traffic. I think we recognize that, and I appreciate the concern. One thing that I would say about this development is the majority of these homes are rear-loaded, and one of the benefits of a rear-loaded subdivision is that it moves the driveways to the rear portion, and it limits the access points and interactions pedestrians can have with vehicles. The other thing, it creates a lot of open space, and so there are a lot more spaces in this subdivision that children and pedestrians can interact and engage in without having interactions with a vehicle. Now, I'm not minimizing pedestrian accidents. They happen. We just heard a story. That's a terrible experience. I'm definitely not in favor of any terrible accident happening, but I will say that this development is looking at that and trying to recognize a way to create an environment for people to live and enjoy the area that they're in. The roadway along 2200 where the homes are already existing, talking about widening there. Generally, if there's some existing homes that there is not a widening that has already occurred, that would be tied to, generally, there's some caveats to this, but generally tied to a city project. So those homes there, if that roadway has not been established, it would be tied to traffic counts and traffic numbers, and engineering looking at that and saying, if it's on the city to widen, we would go in and take care of that as a project. If it's an area that development will occur eventually, and we can count on the development doing it, then the development will put that in. There are cases where the city recognizes that the road needs to go in, and the city puts it in. Mayor, you referred to it earlier, where that happened on Gentile, and so payback agreements are established to make sure that that is established and covered. The heights, the majority of these units are two-story. I guess I would turn to the developer and ask them to respond to the heights and what they're planning on putting in, and express the types of buildings that they're planning on showing. The ag heritage, I appreciate the concern about ag heritage. The intent of the ag heritage is to allow for an option to preserve agricultural options. Now, that can be community gardens. There could be a broader concept to what that is, but it's also intended to preserve the agricultural ground that was there in an open space format. We recognize that, and when we went through the general plan process, that West Layton is going to be built. And a lot of people are coming in. As farmers want to sell their ground, more growth is going to come. And so part of that was looking at it and saying, there's got to be a way to preserve some open space. We recognize that we have a lot of open spaces that are passive, that may not be my open space, but I enjoy looking out and recognizing that there's some room between me and others. And so part of this is to preserve some of that open space. And that's what this ordinance does, is allows that 20%, and here 22 point, whatever that percentage is, in open space, to preserve that ground, to have some open space. I appreciate Destination's thought process in trying to create the parks that are a little bit more natural, and they can speak a little bit more to that when they get up if they want to. Traffic on Gentile, I just want to touch on that for a second. So in this section of Gentile Street, the traffic has actually been reduced by 30% since the West Davis corridor went online. I'm not saying that Gentile's not a busy road. We recognize it is a busy road. It's intended to hold traffic, but the facilities of Layton Parkway and the West Davis corridor and Gentile and 2200, all those roads work together to facilitate that traffic, to keep it off of the local roads. As far as trails connecting, there was a comment tied to how are these, especially the power line corridor. So we're creating a trail that, quote unquote, goes nowhere, right? this is how development occurs. These are how a lot of these trails are established. This is part of our trails master plan to have a regional trail along that power corridor. This is the first step. As developments occur, these through the PRUD is a great tool for us to get the trails installed. If we don't have that as an option, then the city is required to put those in, and so it takes a little bit more time to get those facilities installed. But they are part of our plan. And so when we have development come forward, we look for those opportunities to work with developers to get those facilities in so that they can get in sooner rather than later. I skipped the ag heritage tied to the bird habitat. I appreciate and recognize the concern for the environment that's around. This is a hard concern. This is a normal thing that occurs with development. As this subdivision comes in, and as you know, the subdivisions before it came in, there was a disturbance of some kind of local wildlife, birds and whatnot that are potentially distributed to other parts of the city. This will create a lot of areas for trees and room for birds to grow. I realize that the trees take time to grow, but this will facilitate a nice area for the natural environment. Tied to water shares, yes, we have a water concern. We live in an arid state, and there are constantly concerns about that. We do require specific water shares, and all that really is doing is saying you have rights to produce enough water to facilitate this site. That's what we can legally require. Now, the conversation of if that water comes off the mountain this year and we have enough water to supply everybody's water rights, that's a broader context that I can't really respond to. But what I can respond to is that we are actively making sure that this development is not just facilitating the water needs that it has, but that the open spaces are water-wise. Yes, there's going to be grass areas. We're showing the area in green as open space just to give a context, but we're not saying all that's going to be all grass. There are going to be significant areas that are water-wise designed, and it is a concern. I'm kind of skimming through my notes. Council, am I missing something that you wanted me to address that I haven't addressed?
Well, I think the developer would probably address the HOA open space, even though you just touched on it, but as far as what their intent is. Zoning? A gentleman had a question regarding zoning.
So, is a good question. So the zoning, the request is to go to an R110. An R110 zone is a standard single-family residential zone that allows for 10,000 square foot lots. The PRUD component is an overlay on top of that. That PRUD allows the developer to cluster or put together the homes in smaller formats, so not having to use a 10,000 square foot footprint, but then redistributing that ground into open space. And that, by doing that and increasing the design quality of the homes, adding the open space, adding the amenities, all those things allow for small increases in density, which get us to the 4.8 units per acre 4.89 units per acre that they're at.
Okay. The only other question I think that was asked was possibly, and I mean, this would be city property, and that would be something that we'd have to decide. But again, you're talking a huge maintenance cost there, is the open space with the detention basin, probably converting it to a playing space or soccer or whatever sports space.
Yeah, and I would just say there's a broader conversation to that.
Yeah.
It's specifically functioning as a regional detention basin for a reason, and we need it to function that way. So, and then Mayor, you actually had a question about connected bikeways. 2200 does list it as having a future bikeway, and then we also have the regional trail.
Yes, I love that. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
If I could, Mayor, just follow up. You talked about 2200 with Mr. Jepson's question. I brought up a question to the south of the development. There's a place where on the west side of 2200 where 2 homes were just built this last year. Is the width of that road any narrower than the width of the finished road would be, say, up by one of the alfalfa fields when it is finished? Or would that be equal?
It should be equal. I'd have to zoom in and take a good look at that, but I don't see any reason why that road width should be any different.
So, so I guess the question is...
Take a look at it.
The evergreen part on 2200 is the same line as the curb and gutter would be in the new development? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That's correct.
Yeah, where Evergreen, where the subdivision to the south is on that east side.
Brad, why don't you stand up so you can be recorded?
Sorry, I was looking at my computer and trying to answer your question, but yeah, on the east side of 2200, it'll line up with that curb, gutter, and sidewalk there. The west side, there might need to be a city project in the future.
So I asked that question, there's not going to be a bottleneck where it gets narrower as you go south, right?
Right, yeah, especially like where, if you're heading southbound on 2200 west, there's not going to be anything that will change with this development. It'll be the same as it is now. But when it comes to that northbound traffic lane, it won't be a bottleneck. It'll line right up the way it's supposed to.
Okay. Any other questions here? If not, I think we'd like the developer to stand up. I do have one question for him, just because I kind of heard the concerns in our public comment portion of our meeting. And obviously, you heard that we had proponents of dog parks, and I know that this is a challenge. You guys have certainly looked at it, but the what-if scenario, what if you can put one in, where would it most likely land in this development? Because I think that would be a concern here.
Sure. Brandon Ames, I am a Layton City resident as well, and represent Larry H. Miller Real Estate and Destination Homes. There's some technical questions about that. Sean has been kind of managing this. I know he has chosen at least 2 places for dog parks.
Thank you.
Sean Athey, Larry H. Miller Real Estate Destination Homes. I need a pointer. It's easier. Is there one that I can...
Where we can see A, B, and C.
Well, there's a pointer over here that he can use as well to kind of help all of us.
Try not to hit anyone in the eyes. Currently, there will be a dog park right in this region. We try to keep our dog parks closer to the single family and townhome units because of not having backyards for the dogs. And we are exploring the option of another one here and a smaller one in this area, kind of analyzing those 2 spots right now.
Excellent.
So we do know that there will be one in this parcel for sure.
Okay. That works.
I want to thank everyone for all their work. Staff has been incredible to work with, and it's been a long process, but I know a lot of time and effort has been put into this. And I do want to thank everyone who came to voice their opinions and their concerns. I think that's really important. It's what makes this country great. And a lot of people complain, and they just complain on their couch. But no one's willing to do anything, and I think it's admirable. I try to tell my kids, you can complain as long as you follow it up with what you're doing afterwards. So I just want to thank everyone who came tonight, and I want to express on behalf of the Miller family and Gail Miller is that change is difficult. We know that it's very challenging to deal with, and we're all challenged with handling it at a very fast rate right now in the state of Utah. We're working on projects all over the state, and it's very difficult to keep up with a housing demand that's 35,000 units short. And it's very difficult to manage the value and the cost of homes in the market when we are 35,000 units short. And that's a challenge, and it's something that we talk about all the time. And Gail is very passionate about trying to solve that, which is why she purchased Destination Homes. One of the things that we've learned is that having developments and subdivisions that have just a continuous one type of home all the way through them, it's okay maybe, if you have 10 acres or 20 or 30 homes or something like that. But when you have a larger development like this, it's really important to offer multiple housing types. We've seen now schools closing, right, in the Wasatch Front, because there are no more kids moving in or out of those developments. They're too homogeneous. And that's something that we've studied for a long time and watched, and that's one of the reasons why we do provide multiple housing types in a development, is this development can live and grow and breathe throughout multiple life cycles, not just ours. And that's something that we pay a lot of attention to. And that's why you see townhomes in addition to single-family homes.
Okay, before you leave, just because, it's a concern, or people really are still trying to understand ag heritage. Again, and I apologize, I know you're probably the one that's working on most of these identified properties. Kind of explain the possibility of like a community garden or even stand-up box gardening, and where would that most likely land?
Sure, yeah, that's something that we've considered for this site. We would really like to implement it in this site. We're kind of testing it right now in our trailside development, which is on Gordon, to see how responsive the community is, because not every community responds the same to them. And so we also don't want to waste resources and maybe go in and put it in and find out that it hasn't been useful. We are on the HOA board and will remain on the HOA board throughout the development, and that's something that we hope to kind of watch and see and pay attention to, and we definitely have the space to do that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Could you speak to, I believe one of the residents asked about the possibility of the 3-story structures. Could you speak to that? Would that be those townhomes, or what on here would
Sean
be considered the 3-story
probably
structure?
correct me, but I don't believe we have any 3-story structures in this development.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Oh, I have one more.
Sure, go ahead.
So, Mayor, you were asking about the dog park and potentially where those would be. Every green space within this community, though, that would be considered private or public?
Yes, it is. It's private and HOA, except for the trail systems that are like on the city property and the 10-foot wide trail that's intended to travel west and along the corridor. Those are public use.
So whose responsibility is it? The HOA's responsibility to make sure that folks who do not live in this community are not accessing the dog park, and also for these communities that are stubbed into, would that also preclude them from using those same amenities?
It is the HOA's responsibility. Something like a dog park is a little easier where it's fenced and people tend to know each other in the area, and they know each other by visiting the dog park. Mm-hmm. The rest of the spaces, will not be fenced or anything. There's not like a card or a gate to get into the grass areas. I'm on quite a few HOA boards in our company, and I've never implemented like an actual policing system for that, but they are owned and maintained by the HOA.
So just that follow-up question. So folks who are in this neighborhood where Alberta Spruce is up to the top, or where this Sugar Pine Way is going to be added in, they have dogs or whatever, and the park is close to them. Are they able to access the same amenities? I mean, it's not technically their neighborhood, but the street is going to be connecting into their neighborhood.
We try to post. It's one of the things that unfortunately we have to do, and as an HOA, is make sure that it is posted as private property for legal rights and legal reasons, but it won't be fenced.
Okay, if anyone else has any questions, the public hearing is still open, so if you want to stand up to the mic, I know you'd raised your hand, but please come up to the mic. And once again, you have to state your name.
I'll be brief. Travis Baker, Layton City resident. I was going to ask the same question that Councilwoman Smith asked. But I would like to say I hear lots of planning and lots of effort to make the new residents of this community have things. All the current residents see are downsides. So no access to these green spaces, but increased traffic, things like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I know one of you guys.
Tom Toronto, Layton City. I was going to ask what for investors looking to purchase, is there a % of the overall units that will be allowed to be sold to investors, and what are the plans for that?
We do not have any deed restrictions right now on the property, but that's something that we would consider. We've done them in other developments as well.
But all units, including the townhomes, are all privately owned, correct?
Correct.
Or owner occupied, I should say.
Owner occupied, yeah.
Okay. All righty. Go ahead, just take.
Just real
again,
quick,
state your-
there's a difference between privately owned and owner occupied.
Yeah, that's why I.
They can be privately owned and half of it could be owned by one company. Just a clarification.
Okay, sir.
Claude Young in Layton. My question is on affordable housing. If there's a certain percentage that's supposed to be affordable housing, and what's the price range that you're looking at is what is affordable?
Okay. That's not really on us, but.
Ben Tate again. Since they mentioned that they don't plan on 2 stories, I was just wondering if we could just pin that down, because in the packet it does state 3-story or 2-story. If it could just be clarified that the developments are capped at 2-story since there's no plans. I don't know what the process is for that.
Okay. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
The reason that's called out as 3 stories is because that's what the code would allow. So if the council would like it noted that it would be a 2-story, that could be added to the development agreement, and obviously we'd want to see if the developer would be amenable to that, but it's just stating code is all that is.
Okay. All right. Brandon, do you mind speaking to the, not necessarily the affordability, but obviously the price range?
Sure, and our intention, I think, would be just to follow the code for the zoning on the houses. We don't have any plans right now for anything over 3-story, but I also think it'd be useful to note, so we are developing this essentially in thirds, starting on the south, and so the southwest corner will be the first street that's built, and those, I think it's probably about 20 homes will be built first, and then we'll move east from there, and then kind of start working our way from south to north. There's some other reasons with Rocky Mountain Power and what availability of utilities that we need to do that, but that's the general plan. If anyone is wondering, what was the question about affordability exactly?
Well, I think the question was obviously how are you going to, address the affordability, but this is privately owned. But I think the question also was, what's a ballpark range that these products will probably sell for? I know that that's only based upon demand and when it's developed, because there's certainly inflation involved in there.
Yeah. We do have other projects where we're trying to address affordability, where we're able to have small, 800 to 1,100 square foot homes that are just a slab on grade, and we weren't able to do that here with, there wasn't the ability to do that here, so we're not trying to address necessarily what I would consider a $350,000 home here. I don't know if I can get into exactly what I think the prices will be for the market for everything, but I know it's not going to be considered affordable, as far as what the state considers affordable. We would love for it to be.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It's difficult to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Real quick, thank you for your time. Appreciate all the energy you've put into it. And I do have a question. kind of to the owner occupancy portion of that, because that's something that as a council we've really feel very strongly about. Some capital company coming in and buying an entire neighborhood, and then my kids actually don't own the house; they just rent it. So how do we facilitate home ownership in young Americans if it's owned by a capital group? So I would like just to know what you've done in the past with these deed restrictions, and if you've had successes and things that we could maybe look at regarding that.
Yeah, we have, and we've done them in various ways. Sometimes it's with time and percentage, or there are things that we can do. We're very, being a Utah-owned company and by a Utah-driven family, we work really hard to create developments that are owner-occupied and not, purchased by large corporations. So there are different ways that we've done that. I'd have to probably have our legal department kind of decide what type of language to add in the MDA for this specific one. But that would be our goal, is to sell to my kids who are currently looking for somewhere to live and would love to live in Layton.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I had a question for Weston. I wrote down the phrase "trails to nowhere" when someone was speaking. Just wondering, in our active transportation plan, is there a plan for a trail through the power corridor or any other connections of note?
Yeah, that trail, that corridor is planned to have a regional trail through the whole section of Layton, and other cities are planning to have that to be a trail as well.
Thanks.
Power corridor.
Mayor, could I just make what I believe are some clarifications? So to Mr. Young's question about how much of this development is considered affordable housing, I think the answer to that was 0. So this is not an affordable housing community, which is what was just represented. I know there are some assumptions behind that, which we won't get into today, but this is not that. And then I just wanted, for the benefit of those of you here and also those who are live streaming or will replay this, on the city planning website, we do have master parks plans, master trails plans. Like, we have plans of all of the things that the city wants to do from now into years into the future. And so even with the statement, right, of the Trails to Nowhere, there are plans and maps of all of this information is online. And with the Wasatch Front Regional Council, we participate in the active transportation plan that is a regional plan. So we're not just creating things that don't connect, but we're in conjunction with the cities that are around us. So Clearfield, Syracuse, Kaysville, you name it. These plans, we come together to kind of create a network so that while you are going from one trail to another, you are not ending at a dead end. But all of this is available on our planning website, and you can get links to that as well. So I just wanted to make sure that we all are aware of that. And I know sometimes we don't know. So thanks.
Good comment. Okay. All right. Well, if there's no further discussion, Council, I'll bring it back to you then to take action regarding our annexation and rezone request for the Stevenson Field subdivision. What I'd ask of you to do is to close the public hearing and then take action regarding Ordinance 25-11 and Ordinance 25-12, and also call out Resolution 25-53. Yeah, or you can say what I said. Get up.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolutions 25-1, 25-12, 25-11. Sorry, those are out of order in my eyes. And resolution 25-53.
And
Okay,
close the public hearing.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'll go ahead and do a roll call vote on this. And, oh, excuse me, I need a second. Good point. Okay, it's second. Is there any other discussion? Otherwise, I'll... Absolutely.
Thank you. So a lot of times when we're doing annexations and rezone requests, we're doing that and then other things happen later. We have a development agreement before us right now, which basically is just what we see, right? What we've seen on screen today with no changes. So approving this today, does that mean that there's no opportunity for a tweak here or there if the developer and city staff, based on comments and information and questions we had tonight, what is, and maybe this is for Clint, I don't know,
yeah,
but what is the opportunity for minor tweaks and changes if we approve this tonight?
Counsel? All right. Legal counsel? All right.
You're just
Brad?
letting me answer because I had to walk
Sure.
all the way down here, right? Yeah, so if you pass resolution, 2553 tonight, then that would be the development agreement. But a development agreement can always be modified in the future, and it would just go through the same public hearing process. And so if it was determined by, a city staff working with the developer, or if there was a request that came up and the city council wanted to amend that development agreement, after executing it, then that's always a possibility. Hopefully
Yeah, so just to be clear, just to answer, minor changes, yes. Substantial changes, no. And without consent of the developer, I hate to put it this way, but the moment that you have the most leverage is right now. So if there are things in this plan that you want to see different, or if there are things that you want to see that you feel like should be considered or changed or looked at by the developer, then that now is the time. Because, yes, once this is approved, this is substantially approved.
Right, and I guess that was what my point was with like the owner occupancy, because we can't.
Right, so if you
force the
want to
gentleman
make that a
say-
condition,
Right.
then that needs to happen tonight. They could always voluntarily agree to that, but they would not be required to.
So that begs the discussion here, if that might be the point of concern. You could ask the developer to answer that at this time, if that's what you guys so choose.
Well, and I think he answered that they've done it, so it's not something that is not in the question. But my concern would be, without knowing what actually to ask for at this time, would it be prudent for us to, really understand a little bit more about what we should be asking for in that owner occupancy? Like if we said, oh, well, we want to make sure that that's a part of it. Sure, that's a part of it, but what does that actually mean, and how are we guaranteed that? And that may not be the only thing. I'm just using that as an example, but how are we guaranteed that we are asking for what we really want? Does that make sense, Council?
Yeah, I think those are good questions, and if that is a concern of the council, then that's something that you would want to have. You would definitely want that discussion tonight.
Yeah, and I could address that a little bit too. I personally, I'm not, I would say, a fan of having single-family homes bought up and rented and having the whole thing, having a neighborhood being owned by a corporate rental company. I don't think anybody really is a fan of that. I would say that if we were to do that, it would be contrary to how all of the other subdivisions in this area have functioned, where I'm not aware that any of these subdivisions in this area have an owner occupancy requirement where the owner has to own and occupy the home. So, for example, if anybody lived in these neighbors, in any of the surrounding neighborhoods, speaking of, just the free market and the opportunity to choose what you want to do with your own property, they could move away from their home and still rent that home out, or they could sell it to a corporate entity. And so I think it's important to recognize that and still to weigh that in the decision on what you want to do as a council, if that is something that you would want to impose, to this development specifically, when it isn't something that we're requiring of any other subdivision in the area.
Okay. That's
So-
a good point. Yes.
Well, I'm just thinking, appreciate that, and you're correct. But I also do think that we have experience where we maybe should have done that and didn't because we didn't know. And so we do have another area in the city where something similar has happened, and we don't necessarily want that to happen again. But I do understand the point. On the single-family side, I'd be more interested maybe in that specific to the townhomes, because I think that's where the concern comes into play largely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Brandon, do you want to go ahead and maybe speak to some of your past knowledge on this just to help educate us?
Yeah, I might say that I think that could be a longer conversation to figure out the details on, but I have done this where it can be conditional upon adding language in the MDA and then it says, all efforts will be made to work with the city to come up with the proper language for that. I don't think I can come up with that exactly on the spot right now, but I think conditional approval maybe with something that says that we will make all efforts to work something out with the city is a way that I have done that before, and I think it's appropriate on the townhomes. I think my gut is that this community price point may not attract a lot of corporate buyers. Not that we're trying to make it a high price point. We're not. We're trying to offer townhomes so that our kids have somewhere to live, but just the nature of the location and kind of the nature of the development with as much open space and the quality of the build that we do, we have not really encountered that in any of our developments so far in Layton. So maybe conditional would be if it's something that the council really wants to see, or maybe we can just talk about it and see how many want to see it in there. I'm open to I think that's why we're here, have the conversation and come up with a plan to move forward.
Okay. Councilmember Morris?
Yeah, just, excuse me. I don't know that we want to make that determination tonight. I would rather have a broader discussion on unintended consequences of doing, to Brad's point, as well. It sounds great, but we don't want it. And, there was a bill that died in the legislature this last legislative session wanting to ban all, and I'm not for it. I'm not. We have areas in the city right now just above Highway 89 that's a beautiful little neighborhood. It's all rentals owned by a company in California. So I'm not advocating that. Just the idea you have. So someone comes in and buys the townhome, a young family, and now they want to. They're growing and they want to move. Well, they might want to rent their townhome and then move into another and just kind of continue that progression in there. So again, we ought to have a broader discussion before we decide to say, yeah, townhomes tonight. I don't think that'd be prudent. So that's my thought on that.
Mayor, if I may add something.
Absolutely.
And I'll lean on our legal counsel for this comment as well, but it is my understanding that state law does not allow us to regulate whether it's owner occupied or not. That's kind of the big crux of this, right? So what the broader conversation is there room to say a large corporation can purchase these units? There might be something in that. And again, I'd have to lean on Clint, but state code does not allow us to say these are required to be owner occupied. That can't be part of the development agreement or the decision that we're making tonight, unfortunately.
So just a comment,
that's a good point.
and comment here. I just had a quick discussion with the developer's representative, and I'll recap it. I asked him what is more likely to be investor purchase, single-family homes or townhomes. I think we know the answer to that. It's the townhomes. I asked him what would be an appropriate, if it would be appropriate to ask for a percentage and if they'd be willing to do that. He said that he thinks that it's reasonable to do a restriction of 75% of the townhomes be sold as owner occupied as part of it. Wouldn't be in perpetuity, which I agree with him. It's really hard to restrict land for in perpetuity, but for a portion of time that it would be there would be an owner occupied restriction. That would get you 75% of the townhomes, and based on their experience and I think really just common sense, usually those higher end single family homes are not what investors are purchasing anyway. It's usually more of the townhomes. So if that's something that would achieve your goal, that's something that they said they'd be willing to agree to.
Okay, that's good. Okay, you want to continue the discussion?
Sorry. Did you
all right.
hear Weston's question about?
I only heard part of it, so I didn't hear the question.
And maybe it wasn't a question, it was a statement. Yeah, restate it. I don't want to misquote you.
Did you go back to your seat for a minute?
He's going to get his steps in.
It will get my steps in. I just mentioned that state law precludes us from requiring that it be owner occupied.
Yeah.
The developer can offer that.
Right.
They're welcome to offer that.
Yeah.
We can't require it.
What I'm saying is that he's telling me they're willing to agree to that.
That's very amicable, I think. And it's a good solution here on the spot for us.
I did tell him, he didn't ask for this, but I did tell him that if they got into if it were approved by the council and it got into that development and it just wasn't feasible, that it was killing their development, that's something that we would bring back to the council to consider. But it doesn't sound like it would be. It sounds like 75% is something they think is manageable and would work for this.
Okay, so then what that would do tonight is bring it back and look if you want to modify your.
So if the council did
Right.
want to do that, if the council did want to do that, you could just amend your motion to include that the HOA would the developer and the HOA would restrict owner occupied units to set no more than 25% or 75% owner occupied. And the only thing I couldn't say is that I don't know for the limit of time, so I would just give staff the discretion to be able for us to do our research on that and do a reasonable amount of time. So you could just say what I just said.
Did you get that, Kim? That's my motion.
So just let me help it out. So just you don't have to say anything about the
Time out.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be rude, but somebody's got to say something.
I got a question.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned something. You mentioned that into perpetuity, there needs to be a time frame, shouldn't there be, on the townhomes?
Yeah, and that was part of what I said is that I
did?
Yeah, I did. I said that give staff the ability to do research and find what is common practice and work with the developer on a reasonable time. But really, I think even just the first townhome purchaser is great.
Right.
But yeah, we would, and I'm hesitant to say the length of time without looking at what the market is dictating and what's happening elsewhere. So, Council Smith Edmondson had a question, and then I can help you with the motion if this doesn't change something.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, y'all. I'm just on one tonight.
That's okay. No, this is why we have this discussion and why I promised these folks that we would vet it out thoroughly. And I appreciate you guys taking the time and really questioning this so that you feel good about your decision.
Yeah, so I agree with Councilman Morris, in the assessment of maybe a family. I mean, we are right outside the base, and a lot of base families, a lot of military families come here, don't want to live on base. They buy a home. I had a townhome outside of the base, and then they want to buy a house, and maybe they're going to rent it. And, so I think I'm more in favor of figuring out how we could do something around the big corporation purchases, because I think that's a bigger issue where you have a corporation that is buying X number of townhomes and renting them out.
But state law prohibits us.
I think the only way
problem.
I think the only way you can address that is by designating it owner
Ownership.
occupied.
And that doesn't help. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
I think
So
otherwise-
I think we're at a point, and you're right.
And if I
But
could
let's
just,
go ahead and go back to the motion on what you're saying. How
yeah,
we can do this.
and maybe what's even reasonable for the developer and for the community is just that because they can only control what they can control when they sell it. And so for that first purchase, 75% of the purchases of townhomes will be owner occupied. Sounds like that's what they've done. So
Yeah.
without a time frame, just because once they've sold 100% of this product, they're not here anymore. They don't own anything. They don't have the control to be able to do that.
Okay.
So with that,
So-
then the motion would be, if this is what you want to do, Councilmember Roberts, is the motion would, you don't have to restate what you already said. Just say, amend your motion to include that 75% of the townhomes will be sold to owner-occupied purchasers.
I don't know how all the council feels. I'd rather make it as an amendment and we vote on that. I don't know. Or is the whole council okay with that amendment?
Well, that's what I'm saying is you make the amendment, it would require a second and a vote.
Yeah.
If you
For
do
the
it that way.
amendment. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would amend my motion as Mr. Drake stated to require or work with the landowner or the developer that 75% of the townhomes were owner occupied on the first sale.
Correct.
Okay. I have a point of clarification. Since we're only voting on the amendment, can I do a yay or nay, or do I still need to do individual?
So what it would sorry, I misspoke. What it would be is if there's a second, if there's a second on this amendment, then it would be his first motion plus the amendment
Plus
that
the
you're
amendment,
voting
and then I'd do a
Yeah.
roll call vote. Okay.
That makes
So
sense.
that's why
Not according to Robert's Rules of Order, I don't think. You can vote on the amendment first.
Your rules?
We're not amending the motion, I'm voting on the amendment. Or I'm proposing an amendment to the motion.
Yeah, sorry. The way I was thinking it of is you're basically adding to your first motion, and then
Yeah,
that
I want
whole
it to
thing
be a
will be voted
separate
on.
vote, just to
I'll tell you
know
what,
we're
I'm
all
just
on
going
the
to
same
do,
page.
I'll do a roll call vote on just the amendment,
Yeah.
which the
Get a second,
amendment is to, well, no, I'm clearly stating, well, Tyson, go ahead and restate it so everybody's aware of it, and then I'll look for a second on that motion, and then I'll do a roll call vote.
So I motion that we amend my original motion to state that 75% of the townhomes would be owner-occupied on the first sale.
Very well stated. Is there, as part of the development agreement?
Yeah, that will be included as part of the development agreement.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion and a second. So now I'll do a roll call vote on this. I'll start out with Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Thomas,
Aye.
Councilmember Morris,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith Edmondson,
Aye.
and Councilmember Bloxham. Okay, there you have it. It's unanimous on the owner occupancy. Now I'll entertain the original motion for the public hearing of the Stevenson's Field subdivision with ordinance. Do you want to state them, or do you want me to just go ahead? Go ahead and restate your motion. Let's just do that.
Adopting ordinance 2511, 2512, and resolution 2553.
Okay, is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Thomas seconded it. Again, I'll do a roll call vote on this. I'll start out with Councilmember Morris.
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith Edmondson.
Aye.
Okay. Councilmember Roberts.
Before I vote, I'd like to share a story. if That's okay.
You have a point.
Explain my vote. I think it is, personally. First of all, I want to thank all of you for being here, for being at the Planning Commission meetings, for signing the petition, for sharing your personal stories. Mr. and Mrs. Baker, you got me. Made me think of my 9-year-old twins. And I don't want you to feel like you haven't been listened to. I appreciate the process. But I remember a Layton where I remember what I believe is the first subdivision in Layton. And Lauren, you grew up in it. That's the first place I ever saw sidewalks. And for a skateboarder growing up, that's something big. But and my reason for sharing that is it's a lot different Layton than it was back then. It's a lot different Layton than my grandfather saw, my dad saw. And I hope that that all the discussion we have is, and knowing that Layton is changing and developments change as we go along, that we're trying to address, and staff is doing their best to address the concerns of traffic and safety and all of the concerns that have been brought up. I sympathize with you. But that first subdivision that I talk about, with the addition to it, there's about 200 or so homes in it. And about 10 years ago, there was another subdivision that happened to the east of that. And it actually made a connection, a direct connection from that neighborhood to Layton Parkway. And there was a huge concern about the added traffic in that it would take on those small streets. And I'll say I take my kids to friends through that road, and very rarely do I see more than one car on that road. So I know it will increase traffic, but with my vote, I hope that the impacts will be little, and I believe that's what I've seen as I've watched Layton develop. There's a lot of subdivisions now, and there's stub roads on most of them, and eventually those are going to be connected. But I just want to express that I hope you don't feel not listened to. Appreciate you being here and participating, but Mayor, I would vote yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Bloxham.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Councilman Roberts. I appreciate this is how the process is supposed to work, both from the community and also from the developer. We see a lot of developers coming here and have said some things to us at that podium that have been offensive and totally unbecoming of public discussion. So I appreciate the way that you have handled yourself. But to the residents, first and foremost, I mean, I appreciate all the emails. I read them all. I appreciate all the discussions and the phone calls. And I appreciate all of the great comments that you've had because they do matter. I appreciate you taking your time because they do matter. And we do listen. And we make sure that the staff understands that as well. And that if there's a difference of agreement or position on this dais, they know I don't like PRUDs. They know I don't like them. I understand why they're there. I understand the purpose of them. This one got about as close as it could get to getting me to vote yes, but I just can't do it because I just don't feel like the density issue is feasible for this area of Layton. And so that's not to say that my colleagues are wrong necessarily. It's just reasonable people disagree. And so I just appreciate the comments. I appreciate helping me think through this and for all of this, the smart discussion that we've had. So with that, Madam Mayor, I vote no, but with the understanding I do appreciate all of the work gone through, and I really do hope that this development, to your point, Councilman Roberts, that it will have and be good development for all these new future residents who will come into the city, and it also will be a place that people who live on their surrounding areas will also look to it, that it didn't have the same outcomes that they were worried about, that we can still hope for optimism. And so with that, Madam Mayor, I vote no.
Okay. I was going to say that's a vote. Did you still want to make a comment, even though
That's okay.
I'll allow it before I make the final judge?
I appreciate my colleagues. This process is difficult. You know it's difficult. You're here because it's difficult. It's where you live. We came together, it's been 10 years ago, and reauthorized our general plan, updated it, and invited the community, and we had all the meetings, and you may have heard this, and cities get to do that. They have to have a general plan of how the city is going to maybe look like in the future. It's general, it's not specific, it's general, but what it looks like in the different areas, what we'd like to see, and that was brought before all of you, not necessarily you, but those who were involved in the update. And as part of that update, we had options for those that wanted to build in the city, in this city, for property owners, for developers. That was also part of this. You saw some of that tonight with the overlay. Those are all options given. It's not something new. It's there for a reason, and we voted to allow that. I look at this here, and they are beautiful neighborhoods. These are beautiful neighborhoods. These are good people. You're good people. People want to live here. If they didn't want to live here, this wouldn't be happening. We're going to have good people move into our city. And through this process, I think this is a better product, a better development because of you, because of your input, because of working with the staff working with the developer. You might not feel like it tonight, but this is a better development. And that's why I voted to allow this to continue. Lastly, we do three things as a city. You've heard me say it. One, we provide essential services. Two, a place, people, a hometown you want to live in, you want to come home to in the evening, you're proud of being from. The third thing is this land use stuff, and it's hard. And it's our authority, your opportunity to do this, for us to visit with them and to give them direction, and then with the staff, is being eroded at the state level. And I don't know what this looks like in the future, but I don't want to have the state legislature, executive branch, however things morph into, that now they come in and say, yep, right there, that looks like that 75 acres we can put in 3-story townhomes and apartments and whatever we want to do, because we got to have it because people need to move here. That discussion's happening at the state level. And the Utah League of Cities and Towns is trying to thwart it off, and council members and councils trying to do what we can to keep this zoning authority local. It won't affect this, but the future, look around. It'll affect that if we can't, if we don't have, we're able to do this. And so doesn't make us feel better tonight. Yeah, those are my thoughts. Sorry, but I get excited about that. I want to keep this local for us.
Okay. I think what you've heard here is, just so you know, it's part of Robert's Rules of Order that the council can justify or if they want to elaborate on their choice of the vote, that's what they were doing here. So I appreciate their thoughts. I'm one that does not like to repeat. I wholeheartedly appreciate the process, and I appreciate you folks being here, and again, the interaction, and also the fact that tonight what I witnessed, which has not taken place before, was that it was a developer on the spot willing to work with us. A lot of times it's a lot of back and forth, but but the fact that he came up with a solution for us tonight, I have to commend you on that. But with that, I need to rule on the vote, which for the Stevenson's Field subdivision, it was a 4-1 vote, 4 in favor, 1 against. So that I need to actually make sure. Did we close that public? Did you say you closed the public hearing? Okay, I know that discussion took place long ago. Okay, so that does conclude then our meeting for this evening. And council, I don't think, does anyone have any unfinished business? If not, I will just say thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for all those online that was willing to listen. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Is there a second? Thomas Sexton. Okay. Thank you. I'll acknowledge that. Thank you, everyone. And again, be safe. Enjoy the holidays. Participate in all the things that the city has to offer. Thank you.